Chapter 1925. Sir, are you interested in joining us? Don't worry, I'll pay for it. We'll split the items equally. What's the point of splitting it evenly? Let's split it 30 to 70. A group of people came to rope in Lin Xian. Obviously they were shocked by such a powerful spirit-seeking technique. If they could bring such a person to their side, they might be able to cut out divine crystals. As long as they could cut out a piece of divine crystal, they would be rich. Lin Xian rejected all of these invitations. That was because his goal this time was also the divine crystals. Moreover, he would not team up with these people. However, at this moment he frowned. That was because he felt that there was a hidden killing intent in the crowd that was surging towards him. The next moment he turned his head to look. He saw a gray-robed old man standing in the crowd. His expression was abnormally cold. There was a gray light in his eyes that flickered with a strange power. Lin Xian snorted coldly. His voice carried a powerful soul power that directly exploded in the gray-robed old man's ear. The next moment, the gray-robed old man's body trembled. Blood flowed out of his 7 orifices, and his face was filled with fear. He turned around and fled. He did not dare to stay here at all. The surrounding people looked at each other in shock. They did not know what had happened. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The other party actually dared to have ideas about him. He really did not know what was good for him. Next, Lin Xian did not leave. Instead, he went to the front to prepare and continue to choose stones. The surrounding people made way for him in a very respectful manner. The owner of the stall was also breathing heavily. He did not expect that the other party would have such a powerful spirit-seeking technique. Thinking of this, he immediately grinned. Because with such a spirit-seeking master, it would definitely be a huge advertisement. He believed that it would not be long before his stall would definitely become famous. Thinking of this, he hurriedly said, "I didn't expect sir to be a powerful spirit-seeking master. I hope you can forgive me for not treating you well before. How about this, sir? The stones you choose here will be sold at a 10% discount." Hearing this, the surrounding crowd was even more shocked and envious. Although it was only a 10% discount, it could save a lot of crystals. Thank you very much. Lin Xian also smiled. He didn't think that the identity of a seeker spirit master would be so useful. In the next moment, his eyes flickered. Mysterious symbols revolved around him as he looked at the stones in front of him. Soon he chose another 2 stones. The 2 stones added up to 200 caddies of crystal stones. After the 10% discount, it was 180 caddies of crystal stones. Lin Xian paid the money and took the 2 stones to his side. One of them was gray and there were spots all over it. The other piece was strangely shaped like a dog. These 2 stones were very strange and attracted the attention of everyone. However, the more bizarre its appearance was, the more one had to be careful. This was because these strange-looking stones often didn't have anything inside. Many of these people were veterans, so they had heard of such things countless times. When they saw that Lin Xian had actually chosen 2 such peculiar stones, they all frowned. No way, he actually chose 2 hollow heart stones. Many people cried out in surprise while others asked, "Hollow stone, what is that?" A hollow heart stone is a stone that looks strange on the outside, but has no treasures inside. Hearing this, everyone suddenly understood and then looked at Lin Xian. They began to discuss. Since everyone knew about these stones, why did he choose them? Could it be that he has a special opinion? Not necessarily. These stones probably don't have anything good. I'm guessing that this guy was just lucky before. Is that so? No wonder. Maybe he really can't cut anything out of them. Voices of discussion rose. The middle-aged man in the green robe from before didn't leave either. He stood there and watched. When he saw that Lin Xian had chosen 2 hollow heart stones, he immediately sneered. This guy must have been lucky before to be able to cut out so many crystals. Now that he chose the hollow heart stone, it directly exposed his ignorance. Just wait and see. This time he would definitely suffer a loss. The middle-aged man in the green robe watched gloatingly from the side. Old Monster Dugu also became suspicious again. He asked softly, "Young master, this is a hollow heart stone. Are you confident? Don't lose money again." Hollow heart stone? What's that? Lin Xian shook his head. He had never heard of these names. The next moment he said indifferently, "Well, old man, come here. I'll give you a chance. Now cut this stone." He handed the dog-shaped stone to Old Monster Dugu. "What? You want me to cut it? Are you sure?" Old Monster Dugu was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Xian to do such a thing. "Yes, don't worry. Cut it boldly." With that, Lin Xian gave the other black-mottled stone to the dark red divine dragon. The dark red divine dragon was also excited. He had been impatient for a long time. He knew that Lin Xian's eye technique was extremely powerful. In other words, there must be a treasure in this stone. Next, it was time for him to show off his skills. You guys just wait. This emperor will definitely cut out a supreme-grade divine crystal. Old Monster Dugu also took a deep breath. His expression was abnormally solemn. Since Lin Xian asked him to cut, he wouldn't hesitate. The next moment, he waved his hand and pulled out a purple knife, preparing to cut the stone. His hand was very steady like a boulder. Moreover, his knife technique was very precise. Every time he cut the stone skin, he absolutely didn't miss a single detail. As more and more stone skin fell, the expressions of the surrounding martial artists became more and more solemn. At this moment, everyone's attention was attracted by the stone in front of them. About an incense stick's worth of time passed, and old Monster Dugu had only cut a third. His breathing had been very steady, but his eyes had some doubt, because he didn't quite believe that there would be a treasure in this hollow heart stone. However, after cutting a few more times, a resplendent multicolored light suddenly lit up. It was like a cloud of fire floating in the air. Treasure, there's a treasure. He really cut it out. When everyone saw this scene, they cried out in surprise again. They didn't expect that a treasure could be cut out from this hollow heart stone. Old Monster Dugu was also extremely shocked. His eyes were filled with excitement. But soon he took a deep breath and stabilized his emotions. Then he carefully cut off the stone skin. Gradually, the red crystal was revealed. Although only a palm-sized side was revealed, everyone could see that the crystal was completely red and its color was very uniform. There was a faint stream of light rotating inside, emitting a dense spiritual power. Chapter 1926. This is a fire cloud crystal. An old man cried out in surprise, looking very excited. He was an elder of a large sect and was very knowledgeable. Naturally, he recognized the crystal that was like a cloud of fire. Seeing that someone was confused, the elder explained that other than ordinary crystals, supreme-grade substandard crystals and deity crystals, there was an extremely special crystal known as the variant crystal. Although their value was not as high as real deity crystals, they were much better than supreme-grade substandard deity crystals. Moreover, the fire cloud crystal in front of them contained pure fire attribute energy. If a fire attribute king obtained it, he would definitely be able to cultivate with twice the results with half the effort. What? This is a variant crystal that surpasses supreme-grade substandard deity crystals. Everyone exclaimed with their eyes wide open. They did not expect that the other party would randomly choose two hollow stones and cut out such a variant crystal from one of them. The dark red divine dragon also stopped cutting the stone and laughed. Who dares to say that we are relying on luck now? Hearing that, everyone fell silent. The first time was luck, the second time was luck, but what about the third time? His luck could not be so good all the time. Moreover, it was a variant crystal this time. This meant that the young man in front of them had an extremely powerful spirit-seeking technique. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to be so powerful. The green-robed middle-aged man, on the other hand, went crazy. He roared crazily, "Impossible. **, how can he be so powerful?" At the end of his sentence, his hair was disheveled, and he ran outside like a madman. Obviously, he was driven crazy by the scene in front of him. However, at this moment, the elder who had explained earlier chuckled. "Young master, can we make a deal? You have already cut out a fire cloud crystal, but the size is still uncertain. How about this? I'll buy this fire cloud crystal with 500 kilograms of crystal." "What? 500 kilograms of crystal?" Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, clearly stunned by this shocking price. Old Monster Dugu's hand trembled, and the purple dagger in his hand almost fell. He did not expect that the stone he cut out would be worth 500 kilograms of crystal. Although he was powerful, he was a rogue cultivator after all. Although he had thousands of kilograms of crystal, he did not dare to spend it like that. Lin Xian nodded without hesitation. This was because he had already seen it with his Tianji God eyes. Even if this variant flame cloud gem was cut out, the final price would only be around 500 kilograms of crystal stones. Moreover, there was another benefit to selling it now, which was that it could increase his mysteriousness and raise his status. This made everyone even more convinced that he was a powerful seeker spirit master. Therefore, Lin Xian did not hesitate at all and directly made the deal with the other party. With the 500 kilograms of crystals in hand, Lin Xian stored them in the black earth. The elder waved his hand and put away the rare flame cloud gem. Then he left the place. Everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. Then they began to discuss fervently. In the next moment, they all turned their gazes to the stone beside the dark red divine dragon because they also wanted to know if a treasure could be cut out from this hollow stone. Feeling the gazes of so many people, the dark red divine dragon also felt the pressure. He asked via voice transmission, "Kid, tell me if there's a treasure in this stone or not. Otherwise I won't feel at ease." Lin Xian replied with a smile, "Don't worry, there's a treasure, and its value is not lower than the rare flame cloud gem from before." Hearing this, the dark red divine dragon heaved a sigh of relief. Soon he spat out red lightning and began to cut the stone. Crackle. The light flashed and the momentum was terrifying, but the dark red divine dragon controlled it very precisely and did not damage anything inside. The stone skin quickly fell off. Everyone held their breaths and was extremely nervous. That was because they were 80% confident that there was a treasure inside. Buzz. At this moment, a blue light appeared and formed a river in the sky, making splashing sounds. It's here, there's really a treasure. Moreover, this phenomenon should not be an ordinary crystal. Everyone exclaimed and was extremely excited. The dark red divine dragon also continued to strike with lightning. Then, the crystal inside became bigger and bigger and was exposed to everyone. This time it was not completely cut out, only revealing a crystal surface. The crystal was aqua blue like the ocean and the starry sky, extremely deep. Everyone looked at the aqua blue stone and was extremely shocked. With their previous experience, they now knew that this crystal should also be a rare crystal, and it seemed to be a water-type rare crystal. Its value was definitely not lower than the flame cloud gem from before. At this moment, a person said in a deep voice, "Young master, stop cutting it. I'm willing to buy it for 800 caddies of crystals." Another fat man in purple clothes said loudly, 800 caddies is nothing. I'll pay 1,000 caddies of crystals. I'll pay 1,100 caddies of crystals. A middle-aged woman made a bid. Everyone was shocked and completely dumbfounded. They did not expect this stone to have such a high price. It was unbelievable. In the end, the water-type rare crystal was sold for 1,300 caddies of crystals, and it was bought by the middle-aged woman. In just a short while, Lin Xian had more than 2,000 caddies of crystals in his hands. The speed of making a fortune made everyone jealous. And Lin Xian's reputation also quickly spread. Not long after, most people knew that such a young and incomparably powerful seeker spirit master had appeared. "Young master, if you're so powerful, why don't you go inside and take a look? Legend has it that there are strange stones dug out from the edge of the primordium ancient mine." "What? There's such a stone?" When Lin Xian heard this, he was also moved. The primordium ancient mine was a forbidden zone for life. Legend had it that even the sacred lord of a sacred land did not dare to enter. Such a forbidden zone for life could be said to be incomparably terrifying. However, after asking around, Lin Xian understood. These strange stones were not obtained from the primordium ancient mine, but from the mines at the edge. Because it was relatively close to the primordium ancient mine, it carried endless mystery. To be honest, Lin Xian was also very curious about such a stone. Thus, he walked towards the dragon transformation lake. There were even more people inside. There was a sea of people and it was almost impossible to squeeze through. Everyone was here to look at those strange stones. Because they usually could not see them, only this time they could see them up close. Lin Xian relied on the prestige that he had just obtained from cutting the stone, so everyone made way for him. He easily came to the front. He discovered that there were not many stones in front, only a few dozen pieces. The number of these stones was not as many as the ones on a stall outside. However, no one dared to underestimate it. Because these stones were all obtained from the edge of the primordium ancient mine. Chapter 1927. Moreover, the prices here were very expensive. Ordinary people could only look at them. They couldn't afford them at all. Lin Xian took a look. The cheap ones cost 700 to 800 caddies of crystal stones. Under normal circumstances, it was about 1,000 caddies of crystal stones. The better ones even cost a few thousand caddies of crystal stones. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to buy such stones at all. Because if they couldn't even cut anything out, they would lose a lot of money. Stone gambling was a very evil thing. No one could guarantee that there would be treasures in these stones obtained from the edge of the primordium ancient mine. Have you heard? The kid in front is very powerful. He cut out 2 rare crystals. He's probably a genius from some family of spirit seekers. What? He cut out rare crystals? Which family is he from? He's very unfamiliar. As expected, there will be a genius Lin Xian appearing at every stone gambling convention. Many people looked at Lin Xian and discussed spiritedly. They were talking about what he had done just now. What genius Lin Xian? How dare he call himself a genius in front of the Tuoba family? At this moment, a disdainful snort was heard. Then, a young man in a black robe with triangular eyes glanced at Lin Xian arrogantly. Kit, which family are you from? Tell me your name. Let me see if you're qualified to be here. It's none of your business. Lin Xian snorted coldly and ignored him. The other party was from the Tuoba family, and he didn't have a good impression of this family. You're courting death. Do you know who I am? How dare you talk to me like that? The black-robed young man's face was gloomy. No one dared to disrespect him. The dark red dragon sneered, I don't care who you are. If you dare to be arrogant again, I'll kick you to death. You're not allowed to fight here. At this moment, a dignified voice sounded. Then, the terrifying aura of a mighty figure quickly appeared in the surroundings. This was a warning because there were strange stones in front of them. If they fought, just the aftermath of the energy could damage these stones. The price of damaging each stone was great. Therefore, the people of the 5 Great Sage Lands would not allow anyone to fight here. This powerful being level pressure was the first warning. If the other party still did not listen, they would definitely attack immediately and kill the danger in the cradle. The black-robed young man snorted when he felt the pressure. His face darkened. Even though he was a genius of the Tuoba family, he didn't dare to be impudent here. However, he did not intend to let Lin Xian and the others off so easily. Thus, he coldly said, Brat, didn't you call yourself a Seeker Spirit Master Genius? Do you dare to bet with me? I'm going to expose you in front of everyone, you trash. Bet with you? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Are you worthy? Courting death. Do you know who I am? I am Taba Tianfeng. The black-robed young man said proudly. And when the surrounding warriors heard this name, they also exclaimed. What? It's actually him. Tuoba Tianfeng is the 3rd genius of the Tuoba family's younger generation. Yeah, I didn't expect him to come. I heard that Tuoba Tianfeng's Seeker Spirit skill is extremely terrifying. Even the older generation of Seeker Spirit Masters are no match for him. It's over. That brat offended Tuoba Tianfeng. I'm afraid he's going to be in trouble. Discussions could be heard. Obviously, these people had heard of Tuoba Tianfeng's name. Lin Xian curled his lips. Is Tuoba Tianfeng very famous? I've never heard of him. The dark red divine dragon also had a look of disdain. Yeah, he's only 3rd. What's there to be arrogant about? Brat, hurry up and bring the person who's ranked first in your family over for a walk. Hearing this, old monster Duga's mouth twitched. These 2 lords were too troublesome. They hadn't even heard of Tuoba Tianfeng? How dare they provoke the Tuoba family? Did they not know what kind of existence the Tuoba family was? The surrounding crowd was also in an uproar. After hearing this, Tuoba Tianfeng's face turned even colder. Brat, don't be so arrogant here. Do you dare to have a bet with me? Io, a loser or a father-son battle. The dark red divine dragon laughed coldly. You don't know what's good for you. I won't bully you. Tuoba Tianfeng laughed coldly. How about this? Whoever loses will bark like a dog 3 times. How about it? Do you dare? Why wouldn't I dare? Lin Xian said nonchalantly. I want to hear how your dog barks. Humph. When Tuoba Tianfeng heard this, a murderous look appeared in his eyes. However, now was not the time to make a move. He decided to first defeat Lin Xian in the Seeker Spirit skill. After the stone gambling event, he would kill Lin Xian to vent his anger. In the next moment, a cold light bloomed in his eyes. His gaze was like a divine rainbow. Then strange runes appeared on his palm, shining with a mysterious power. The surrounding ancient martial art practitioners also held their breaths. They knew that the competition was about to begin. This time the stall owner was a mighty figure. He narrowed his eyes and waited quietly. His eyes were shining. At this moment, Tuoba Tianfeng was quite extraordinary. The runes in his hand flickered non-stop as they swept across the strange stones. They were like dancing spirits. The red divine rainbow in his eyes was dozens of feet long, as if it could pierce through everything in the world. What a terrifying eye technique. In the crowd, some of the older generation exclaimed. They were all powerful Seeker Spirit Masters, but they felt a strong sense of defeat in front of this young man. Soon, a smile appeared on Tuoba Tianfeng's face. He chose a stone and said in a clear voice, "We're together." It was a stone that was half the height of a human and shaped like a spirit monkey. It contained an endless amount of spirit energy. One could tell at a glance that it was real. Seeing this, the stall owner nodded his head slightly. He was also an extremely powerful seeker spirit master. Seeing that Tuoba Tianfeng chose the spirit monkey-shaped stone, he said in a low voice, "This stone is not bad. After my appraisal there should be a treasure inside. It's just that I wonder what the rating of this treasure is like." Hearing this, the crowd was in an uproar. If even the Almighty said so, then this stone must be extraordinary. This stone was 1,300 kilograms of crystals. Tuoba Tianfeng quickly handed over the crystals and then waited at the side with the stone. He sneered, "Kid, it's your turn. Don't tell me you don't have money and can't afford the stones here." Lin Xian had been squinting because he was also looking at the stones. He realized that although Tuoba Tianfeng was arrogant, he was indeed powerful. The stones that he chose contained treasures. According to Lin Xian's speculation, they were at least exotic crystals. Moreover, there were quite a lot of them. But so what? He had the heavenly secret divine eyes. He didn't think that he would lose to the other party. Therefore, in the next moment, he walked forward and his eyes flickered with strange runes. Like a celestial emperor, he scanned the stones. Buzz. Buzz. Chapter 1928. What kind of eye technique is that? It's so magical. I feel like my eye technique is being suppressed. Heavens, this kid is definitely not simple. Who is he? What's his background? At this moment, those powerful seeker spirit masters also put away their contemptuous expressions. They realized that Lin Xian was indeed very strong. He could definitely fight against Tuoba Tianfeng. Even the stall owner looked at Lin Xian in surprise. However, Lin Xian's strength had increased greatly now. He had improved greatly compared to before. Therefore, he could hide the golden light of the heavenly secret divine eye. No matter how the mighty figure probed, he couldn't see through it. He would never have thought that it was the heavenly secret divine eye. On the other side, Tuoba Tianfeng's face darkened. He naturally felt a pressure from his soul. The other party's eye technique made him feel extremely threatened. Inside his sleeves, he clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. To be honest, he was extremely nervous. Because this was related to his reputation. If he lost, he would have to bark like a dog. That would be worse than death. However, although the other party's eye technique was powerful, he still believed that the other party couldn't beat him. One had to know that the spirit-seeking technique wasn't just an eye technique. There were other spirit-seeking techniques. He came from the Tuoba family and was the third genius. His spirit-seeking technique was definitely incomparably powerful. It was definitely not something that the other party could compare to. Thinking of this, he sneered again. On the other side, Lin Xian used his eye technique to look at the strange stones. The more he probed, the heavier his heart became. Because through the heavenly secret divine eye, he could clearly see the situation inside the stones. He could tell at a glance whether an ordinary stone contained crystals and how many kilograms it contained. But now he realized that he couldn't see clearly. There were layers of black mist inside the stones, like demonic chi that didn't dissipate. He had never encountered such a situation with any of the previous stones. Are these the stones from the edge of the primordium ancient mine? They're indeed very evil. Lin Xian's heart was heavy. These were only the stones at the edge. He really didn't know what kind of existence was buried in the primordium ancient mine. This time he didn't dare to be careless. The bet with Tuoba Tianfeng was a small matter. He was more concerned about what was inside these stones. One had to know that his goal this time was to find divine crystals. Divine crystals were very rare, and ordinary stones couldn't contain them. The stones from the edge of the primordium ancient mine were very likely to contain divine crystals. Therefore Lin Xian had to be careful. It's been so long and you still haven't chosen? You're still calling yourself a genius? I think you're more like an idiot. At this moment, Tuoba Tianfeng coldly snorted. Fuck, arrogant my ass. The dark red divine dragon stood out and said coldly, cutting the stone is a gamble. Cutting the treasure will determine the quality of the treasure. You of the heavens, you're so fast. Did you do it 7 times a night with 5 seconds each time? Pfft. Hearing this, many warriors laughed because they naturally knew what this meant. Hearing that, Tuoba Tianfeng's face turned terrifyingly dark. His lungs were about to explode from anger. The Longma in front of him was too despicable. He wanted nothing more than to kill the other party and cut him into 8 pieces to vent the hatred in his heart. Lin Xian didn't say anything. He had already eliminated 15 stones and continued to search among the remaining stones. Soon his eyes lit up. Because he had found a stone. The stone was a faint yellow and had an irregular shape. He couldn't tell what it was. There were 3 cracks on it about 1/3 of the way through. However, Lin Xian didn't care about this. What he really cared about was the thing inside the stone. Relying on the heavenly secret divine eye, he saw that there was a ball of golden flame burning fiercely inside the stone. However, there was a lump of black mist surrounding the golden yellow flames. Therefore, there was nothing unusual outside at all. This was also why he couldn't detect the 3 cracks even though they were 1/3 of the way through. I've chosen. I want this stone, Lin Xian said as he pointed at the stone with 3 cracks. What? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. The Almighty at the stall also said in a deep voice, "You have to think carefully. Are you sure you want this stone?" "That's right. I've chosen it. It's this stone." As soon as he said that, the crowd was in an uproar. Tuoba Tianfeng was the first to laugh. His words were full of disdain and mockery. "Kid, I thought you had some strength, but now it seems that you're really an idiot. You want this kind of stone that has been cut? What an idiot." He sneered and his eyes were full of disdain. It seemed that he was going to win this time. The surrounding people were also discussing. Someone said, "That's right. There are already 3 cracks on the stone. And looking at the way it was cut, it should have been done by an extremely powerful seeker." "What? Those are cracks? That's how it came about." Some cultivators didn't know and were shocked when they heard this. "Little brother, I think you should change to another stone. These stones have been cut by powerful seeker." But in the end they all gave up. "These are stones from the Primordium ancient mine. They're very strange. This stone is obviously a waste. So you'd better change to another one. Yeah, you definitely won't be able to cut anything from this one." However, Lin Xian's expression was firm. He said indifferently, "There's no need to change. I'm confident in this one." I'm dying of laughter. "You're still confident? How ignorant are you?" At this moment, Tuoba Tianfeng sneered again. "Do you know the origin of this stone? Do you know the origin of those 3 cracks? Those 3 cracks were made by an extremely powerful seeker spirit master. One of them was cut out by an elder of our Tuoba family. However, our elder only cut 1/3 of it and found that there was nothing inside. That's why he gave up. Could it be that you think your vision is better than the elders of our family? Better than 3 extremely powerful seeker spirit masters?" Tuoba Tianfeng's words were full of disdain. Lin Xian glanced at him and sneered. "Is that so? Your elder cut it? Looks like your elders are really blind. They wasted such a good treasure for nothing. You're courting death." Tuoba Tianfeng was furious. "Damn kid, you're so arrogant. You'll cry when the stone is cut out." Chapter 1929. With that, he waved his sleeves and a murderous look appeared in his eyes. Lin Xian did not care about this threat at all. He looked at the stall owner and said in a deep voice, "Senior, how much is this stone?" "This stone's original price is 3,000 caddies of crystals, but there are already 3 cracks on it. Therefore it won't be too expensive. It's only 500 caddies of crystals. You can buy it if you want." 500 caddies. Lin Xian nodded. This price was really cheap. He did not have any doubts and quickly handed over the 500 caddies of crystals. Then, with a wave of his hand, he took the stone with 3 cracks to his side. Sigh. He's too young. He doesn't know his limits. Many of the older seeker spirit masters shook their heads and sighed. The other warriors also shook their heads. They felt that Lin Xian was too arrogant. In the crowd, the disciples of the Tuoba family sneered at this moment. How dare he come here to gamble with stones at this level? He really doesn't know what's good for him. What genius seeker spirit master. I think he was just lucky before. Kid, your luck has come to an end this time. You want to compare yourself to my big brother Tuoba Tianfeng with this little strength? You really don't know your limits. If there's a treasure in this stone, I'll eat the entire stone. Are you sure you want to eat a stone? The dark red divine dragon stood out and looked at him coldly. Kid, it's you. I see you. When there's a treasure in this stone, I'll definitely throw all the remaining useless stones into your mouth. Feeling the dark red divine dragon's cold gaze, the Tuoba family disciple felt his scalp go numb. That was because the murderous intent in the other party's eyes was too terrifying. He could not bear it. Therefore, in the next moment, his body trembled and he almost knelt on the ground. Tuoba Tianfeng sneered and stood out to block that gaze. Then he said, "Kid, it's useless to say anything more. Let's cut the stone." With that, he waved his hand and the dust and gravel on the ground flew up, creating a vacuum. Then he carefully put away the stone in his hand, took out a small knife that shone with a cold light, and quickly cut the stone. The saber light flickered like a cold wind. The terrifying saber light fell and peeled off the stone. When it was only a third of the way through, a bright light shone and rushed out through the cracks. Those multicolored lights were like crimson flames, and they even emitted a wave of heat. There's light. There must be treasures inside. Everyone cried out in surprise. They didn't expect that they would appear when they were only a third of the way through. It seemed that not only were there treasures inside, there were definitely a lot of them. Ah, did you see that? This is our big brother Taba Tianfeng's strength. In front of our big brother Taba Tianfeng, no one dares to call themselves a genius. Brat, you dare to compete with our big brother? You're dead meat. The people that Tuoba Tianfeng brought with him sneered, while the others in the surroundings began to discuss among themselves. Those powerful seeker spirit masters also kept nodding their heads. Indeed, judging from its appearance and luster, it was definitely a type of crystal, and there was a lot of it. At the very least, he could sell it for a few thousand caddies. This time he would definitely make a killing. The corners of Tuoba Tianfeng's mouth curled up. Since he had cut out a type of crystal, his heart calmed down. Next, it was time to see how many crystals there were. He didn't stop, but continued to cut the stone. After one side was cut out, he cut to the other side. Buzz. Not long after, another ray of light shot out, but this time, it was different from the fiery red light from before. Instead, it was a blue light. Along with it, there was also a terrifying icy aura. In an instant, snowflakes fell from the sky. Not only that, the surrounding temperature continued to drop, and frost formed on the ground, spreading in all directions. It was as if this place was going to turn into a world of ice and snow. So cold. Many people were shocked, and they all circulated their spiritual energy to resist. However, what shocked them even more was the change in the crystal. The aura that was emitted before was like fire, and it was like a wave of fire that distorted the void. But now it was incomparably cold and everyone was frozen. This kind of completely opposite aura actually appeared in the same stone. It was really shocking. What was going on? Was there more than one type of crystal inside? Everyone was shocked, and the powerful seeker spirit masters also frowned. The almighty stall owner's eyes lit up, and two rays of divine red light shot out from his eyes as he stared ahead. Surprise, it was extremely surprising. Not to mention them, even Tuoba Tianfeng was also very surprised. He knew that there was a type of crystal inside, but he didn't expect there to be two of them, and two of them were of completely opposite attributes. This was definitely an unexpected surprise. One piece of rare crystal was already a huge profit. Now that there were two of them and they were both ice and fire type crystals, they could definitely be sold for a sky-high price. Sure enough, after the frost crystal stone appeared, someone immediately made a bid. 3,000 caddies of crystals, I'll buy the type of crystal now. You want to buy it with only 3,000 caddies? What a joke. I'll pay 2,000 caddies. I'll pay 450 caddies. One bid after another sounded, but Tuoba Tianfeng didn't sell. Instead, he looked at Lin Xian with a cold smile. Kid, how is it? Now you know my strength. Someone like you is nothing in front of me at all. I'd like to see what you have to compete with me. You'll see. When Lin Xian saw the man take out a xenogenic crystal with ice and fire elements, he wasn't surprised. He had already checked this stone before, and this situation wasn't out of his expectations. No matter how strong the other party was, it was only a type of crystal, while the one in his hand had an 80% chance of containing a divine crystal. As long as it was a small piece of divine crystal, it would definitely be worth more than the other party. In the next moment he didn't hesitate anymore. Rays of sword light appeared on his fingertips, and Lin Xian began to cut his own stone. Although everyone saw this scene, they didn't pay much attention to it. This was because countless powerful seeker spirit masters had already said that the stone was a piece of trash, and it was impossible to cut out a treasure. Moreover, 3 powerful seeker spirit masters had already cut out 3 cracks, but in the end they didn't do anything. Clearly, this was a stone that everyone had given up on. Therefore, they didn't pay much attention to it, and instead looked at Tuoba Tianfeng. Their terrifying multicolored light surrounded it, and it was as red as fire. On the other side, it was as cold as ice. 2 completely opposite scenes covered the surrounding sky. Such a miraculous scene, they naturally had to worship and admire it. Fuck, what's with the arrogance? Isn't it just a type of crystal? It's not like we haven't cut it out before. Chapter 1930. Don't worry, I'm 100% sure. Lin Xian nodded, looking unusually calm. Beside him, old man Dugu covered his face with his hands. Young master, where did you get your confidence from? That's a rare crystal of ice and fire attributes. It's extremely precious. Unless you cut out a divine crystal, there's probably nothing that can compete with it. Could it be that this kid in front of him wanted to cut out a piece of divine crystal? He didn't dare to imagine. However, when Lin Xian's finger landed on the stone, it cut through a third of the stone. A fourth crack appeared on the stone. However, there was no light at all. When the crowd saw this scene, they immediately shook their heads. See, I told you there's no treasure, but he didn't listen. This kid is hopeless. How dare he compare himself to Tuoba Tian? He's asking for humiliation. The people of the Tuoba family sneered, "Kid, wait for me to bark like a dog." Lin Xian ignored them. Instead, mysterious runes appeared in his eyes again. This was because there was a layer of demonic black fog below. It was this fog that blocked the divine crystal inside. He didn't know what this black fog was, but he instinctively felt that it was evil. Therefore he didn't dare to be careless. The dragon sword soul in his body circulated, and a terrifying aura was added to the sword chi. Then Lin Xian's finger fell again, and the terrifying sword light continued to cut. Soon the sword chi collided with the black demonic chi in the stone. Immediately Lin Xian felt a resistance. He raised his eyebrows, very surprised. One had to know that the dragon sword soul was extremely powerful. Even a 6-star king couldn't withstand his sword. However, the black fog inside blocked it. It had to be said that it was very surprising. No wonder the 3 powerful seeker spirit masters had given up. They probably couldn't get rid of the black demonic chi inside. However, Lin Xian was different. He had the dragon sword soul in his body, so he snorted coldly. The dragon sword soul circulated again, and a terrifying attack power surged quickly. The light on the tip of his finger became stronger and stronger, as if it had turned into a peerless divine sword. Finally, under the fierce sword light, the black demonic chi inside was finally cut open, and even the sound of ice melting could be heard. However, the process was extremely slow. Beads of water even appeared on Lin Xian's forehead. Looking at this scene, Tuoba Tianfeng sneered in disdain. I say, you're really stupid. You're sweating from cutting an ordinary stone? What a waste. The surrounding disciples of the Tuoba family sneered, someone like you dares to come out and embarrass yourself. Hurry up and scram. Do you have a kidney deficiency? You're sweating even when cutting a stone. You're so useless. Lin Xian only sneered in response to these words because he was now 100% sure that the stone in his hand definitely contained a divine crystal. He didn't need to refute at all. He only needed to cut out the divine crystal. At that time, everyone would know who was the one being slapped in the face. Thinking of this, the sword chi in his hand became sharp again. Woohoo! The black demonic chi in the stone decreased until it was finally completely destroyed by Lin Xian's sword chi. Then a golden light surged out from the crack. Boom! In the next moment, the golden light shot into the sky, creating an earth-shattering phenomenon. This scene shocked everyone. At this moment, the surrounding warriors raised their heads and looked at Lin Xian. Heavens, there's light. No way, what did I just see? There's light in a piece of useless stone? Could there really be a treasure? The surrounding people were extremely shocked. At this moment, not only were the ordinary warriors stunned, but even the powerful seeker spirit masters, the powerhouses of the stall, and Tuoba Tianfeng were stunned. There's really a treasure. This kid's luck is too good. You'll know once you try. This is definitely not luck, this is definitely strength. I actually misjudged him. Discussions were heard all around. As Lin Xian slashed again, even more golden light shot into the sky. The sky was originally filled with red flames and blue ice, but now it was suppressed and even dimmed. Not only that, the light swayed in the wind as if it was worshipping the golden light. It was like a subject meeting an emperor. This scene made everyone's jaws drop in disbelief. Tuoba Tianfeng's face was also full of shock. Damn it! How was this possible? How could he cut out a crystal? That was clearly a piece of useless stone. His eyes were wide open and his eyeballs were about to pop out. His expression was extremely ugly, because he would rather die than believe that Lin Xian could cut out a crystal. One had to know that an elder of his family had seen that stone before and shook his head in the end, believing that there was no treasure in it. Not only their elder, but 2 other powerful seeker spirit masters had also examined it. In the end they gave up. The 3 powerful seeker spirit masters unanimously believed that it was a piece of useless stone, But now, this useless stone was emitting such a dazzling light. In an instant, Tuoba Tianfeng was completely stunned. Whoosh! Lin Xian used his fingers like a sword and slashed again. More and more golden light covered the sky, illuminating the entire sky in a golden color. Not only that, the golden light rolled and turned into balls of golden flames that kept dancing and illuminating the surroundings. What a dense aura. What a terrifying scene. On the side, old Monster Dugu was also stunned. He originally thought that Su Chen would lose this time, but he did not expect such a shocking reversal. Not to mention what the crystal inside was, the light alone was enough to suppress the ice and fire crystal. Ah! The dark red divine dragon laughed maniacally. He laughed proudly and said, "Who was the one who said this was a useless rock? Who said that there was water in our heads? Come out. See if this emperor doesn't break your faces." Speechless, completely speechless. No one dared to say anything because they were completely stunned. If they came out now, they would be courting death. Impossible, this is impossible. Damn it, I don't believe it. The disciples of the Tuoba family shook their heads crazily, their faces full of fear. This was completely different from what they had imagined. How could Lin Xian cut out such a terrifying scene? Impossible? The dark red dragon sneered, then stepped out and stared at Lin Xian. "Kid, it's you. I'll remember you. You were the one who said that if we cut out a crystal, you would eat the rest of the stone. Wait, don't leave later. I'll feed you the stone." No. The disciple fell to the ground with a plop. His face was lifeless and abnormally pale. There was a yellow liquid flowing out from under his legs and it smelled very bad. Chapter 1931. At that moment, Tuoba Tianfeng turned around with an ugly expression on his face. He gritted his teeth and said stubbornly, "What's wrong with that? It's not just a good image. Do you know that there's something called ghost striking stone? There are a few stones that can produce extremely terrifying scenes, shocking the heavens. But in the end, there's nothing. This is ghost striking stone. Kid, the stone in your hand is definitely ghost striking stone. You can't possibly cut out a real treasure." At the end, Tuoba Tianfeng was almost roaring because he would not allow himself to fail. However, the heavens seemed to be joking with him. Just as he finished roaring, the stone in Lin Xian's hand cracked open. A golden light shone from the huge crack. A golden crystal appeared in front of everyone. It was very bright, like a small sun. It was so bright that everyone could not open their eyes. There were balls of golden flames dancing on it, emitting a rich fragrance. With a light sniff of the fragrance, everyone could feel the spiritual energy in their bodies boiling. Tuoba Tianfeng opened his mouth wide as if he had seen a ghost. His face was extremely red because he had just said that the other party could not cut out anything. In the end, the other party cut it out. This slap directly stunned him. The surrounding Seeker Spirit Masters were even more shocked, and the stall owner exclaimed, "Divine crystal! Heavens, you actually cut out a divine crystal!" "What? A divine crystal?" Hearing that, everyone went crazy. Their eyes turned red as they looked forward. They originally thought that Lin Xian would at most cut out a foreign crystal. But the quality was better than Tuoba Tianfeng's. But now it seemed that was not the case at all. This was not a foreign crystal at all, but a real divine crystal. That was a divine crystal, something that only appeared in legends. Ordinary people would not have it. Only the big shots of the top sects and sacred grounds would have such things. And there were very few of them. Usually they would not see it. But now, a young man had cut out a divine crystal in front of them. Whoosh! At this moment, a wisp of green smoke appeared in the crowd. It turned into a ghost and instantly charged at Lin Xian. The figure transformed into a ghost face and pounced on the golden divine crystal on the ground. Not good, someone is going to attack. Seeing this scene, everyone felt their scalps go numb. They had never imagined that someone would dare to make a move at a time like this to plunder the divine crystals. Lin Xian's face also changed. With a cold snort, the great dragon sword soul within his body was about to erupt. This was a treasure that he had obtained with great difficulty. How could he allow others to snatch it away? However, before he could make a move, a cold snort suddenly came from the sky. It sounded like a clap of thunder. Then, a purple thunderbolt fell from the sky and turned into a shocking sword light, instantly piercing through the ground. With a loud boom, the terrifying purple thunder nailed a figure to the ground. Blood flowed and the pungent smell of blood filled the air. The figure struggled for a moment and then stopped breathing. Everything happened too quickly. This time it was already over before anyone could react. However, when they came back to their senses, They all looked at the ground in front of them. On the ground there was an old man in a gray robe. His eyes were wide open as if he could not believe that he would be killed in one move. I know him. He's an elder of the Limitless sect. He's extremely powerful. I didn't expect him to be killed in one move. An almighty. It must be an almighty. Moreover, it was not an ordinary almighty. Everyone's scalps went numb. That bolt of purple lightning just now was too terrifying. It made all of them feel like they were about to be killed at any moment. At this moment, a cold voice came from the sky. How dare you make a move in the dragon transformation lake? Kill without mercy. This voice was filled with thick murderous intent and majesty, causing everyone to tremble. However, this sound came quickly and left quickly. Soon, the dark clouds in the sky dispersed, and it became a sunny day again. The sun shone down, and only the corpse on the ground and the flowing blood showed that the scene just now was not a dream. However, the corpse and blood were cleaned up quickly, and the entire place returned to its original state. Everyone's attention was once again attracted by the golden divine crystal in Lin Xian's hand. The golden divine crystal was the size of a fist, and there were balls of golden flames jumping on it. Every time it jumped, it brought with it a powerful spiritual energy. Looking at this scene, many people swallowed their saliva, and their eyes were filled with shock and envy. On the other hand, the dark red divine dragon stood out and looked around. He sneered and said, Who said that we're idiots? Who said that we can't cut it out? I think you're the idiots. You're all blind. You don't want such a good divine crystal. You even said that it was useless. What a joke. The dark red divine dragon sneered. He was really angry just now. These people dared to mock him before, so he naturally wanted to return the favor. The surrounding people were silent. The powerful seeker spirit masters also shook their heads and sighed. They were so regretful that their intestines turned green. Although they were a little unhappy with the dark red divine dragon's words, what he said was the truth. They actually let go of a divine crystal for nothing. They really wanted to die. Soon, the dark red divine dragon turned his head and stared at Tuoba Tianfeng and the Tuoba family disciples. The corners of his mouth curled up. Tuoba Tianfeng? Third in the family? How arrogant. If you're so capable, cut the divine crystal and let me see. Also, weren't you trash very arrogant before? Now you're arrogant. See if I don't slap you to death. Tuoba Tianfeng's expression was extremely ugly. He didn't dare to believe what he was seeing. As for the disciples around him, their faces were ashen and filled with despair. Your Tuoba family is really trash. Didn't an elder cut a third of it? You're actually proud of him. In my opinion, he's the biggest idiot. If he cut a little deeper, there might be a divine crystal. But your elder is really too stupid. I'm dying of laughter. At the end, the dark red divine dragon looked up and laughed. Damn it, how dare you insult our elder Jiang? I'll fight you to the death. The Tuoba family disciples all stood out, their eyes ferocious. Hey, you still dare to jump out? I was just about to look for you. Didn't you say that if we cut out a treasure, you'd eat the stones? Come on, there's a lot of stones on the ground. I'll feed you all one by one. Hearing this, the disciples who stood out were stunned. They had indeed said that. But before that, they didn't think that the dark red divine dragon would be able to cut out a divine crystal. Chapter 1932. The dark red dragon was powerful, so it was easy for him to deal with these people. In an instant, he threw all the stones on the ground into the mouths of these people. Whoa! These people struggled madly as if they wanted to die. The surrounding crowd was also discussing. They had never thought that the Tuoba family would be defeated one day. The disciples of the Tuoba family were forced to eat stones, and their faces were ashen. They didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. They even had the urge to run away. However, Tuoba Tianfeng was still standing there. Tuoba Tianfeng was still standing there, but he was still in a daze. He struggled madly in his heart, not daring to believe it. He was a prodigy, the third prodigy of the Tuoba family. He was powerful, and his spirit-seeking technique was even more terrifying. Even the older generation of spirit-seeking masters was no match for him. Today he had even obtained an extraordinarily precious ice and fire dual attribute crystal. He was proud of himself. Next, he was waiting to be respected by tens of thousands of people, and then humiliate the other party. However, he didn't expect that this despicable kid in front of him would obtain a divine crystal. That was something even more precious than a special crystal. That was why he had been standing high above the clouds. However, at this moment he had fallen from the sky to hell. The ice and fire crystals in front of him were laughable and not worth mentioning at all. He couldn't accept this huge contrast. However, at this moment Lin Xian said calmly, "Tuoba Tianfeng, the third prodigy? Now it's time for you to fulfill your promise." What? Hearing Lin Xian's voice, Tuoba Tianfeng finally came back to his senses. However, when he thought of his promise, his expression turned ugly. He even wanted to turn around and run. "You want to leave?" The dark red dragon sneered and stopped him. "Are you being shameless? You're not going to keep your promise? You're a prodigy of the Tuoba family. Are all Tuoba family members so untrustworthy?" Behind him, Lin Xian opened his mouth and said, "It's fine if you want to go back on your word. However, from today onwards, the members of the Tuoba family will have to bow to me and stay away from me." What? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Tuoba Tianfeng roared madly, "Don't even think about it." What kind of status did the Tuoba family have? It was a powerful family of spirit seekers in the eastern wilderness, respected by tens of thousands of people. However, at that moment they had to bow to a brat and back off. That was a disgrace to the Tuoba family. Therefore, it was impossible for him to let such a thing happen. The dark red dragon sneered, "If you don't want to do that, then hurry up and bark like a dog. How dare you humiliate our big brother Tuoba?" At this moment, the disciples of the Tuoba family stood out again. However, the dark red divine dragon glared at him. "What? Do you want to eat rocks again? Do you want me to feed you again?" Recalling the frightening scene from before, these disciples did not dare to stand out anymore, and all of them shrank back like turtles. The crowd quickly discussed among themselves as their gazes landed on Tuoba Tianfeng. Many of them had mocking expressions on their faces. After all, they had nothing to do with the Tuoba family. Now that they could see such a powerful family being humiliated, they were naturally happy to see it. What Tuoba family? Looks like that's all there is to it. They don't even want to fulfill their promise. What a joke. Yeah, they were said to be on par with the Ouyang family. Now it seems like they're too far apart. Third genius? They're a disgrace to their family. Such a person should just bang his head against the wall and die. Hearing the discussions around him, Tuoba Tianfeng's face turned pale, and he gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. I, Tuoba Tianfeng, am not someone who goes back on his word. Go ahead and bark." As he said that, he barked. Hearing this voice, everyone's eyes widened and they were stunned. Lin Xian was also very surprised. This guy really dared to bark. Woof. Woof woof. After barking, Tuoba Tianfeng spat out a mouthful of blood, fell to the ground and fainted. Damn, he really barked. This bro must be out of his mind. Sigh, this is unbelievable. I didn't expect to see such an exciting scene here. If this news gets out, it'll definitely shock the entire stone gambling convention. The third genius of the Tuoba family barked like a dog. This news is too shocking. Voices of discussion rang out one after another. They were simply crazy. The dark red divine dragon sneered, "Carry this dog and get out of here." The remaining disciples of the Tuoba family did not dare to make a scene. They hurriedly carried Tuoba Tianfeng and left the place dejectedly. The surrounding crowd was in a heated discussion. Among them, a few powerful warriors surrounded Lin Xian. They quickly said, "Young master, are you selling the divine crystal in your hand? I'm willing to pay a high price for it." "What treasure do you want? I can exchange it with you. Cultivation techniques, treasured weapons, defensive equipment, or other spiritual medicine. I'm willing to exchange it with you." Even the stall owner had offered a very attractive price. Many people had their eyes on the divine crystal. After all, such a heaven-defying item was hard to come by. However, Lin Xian shook his head. He still had a use for it, so he would not exchange it with anyone, nor would he sell it. After politely rejecting these people, Lin Xian prepared to leave. However, the stall owner said, "Young master, if you want to sell it, you can come to the Dian sacred land. If there's a need, I'll go." Lin Xian nodded and left. After he left, the news spread like wildfire. Soon, the entire stone gambling convention knew that someone had obtained a divine crystal. Moreover, the third genius of the Tuoba family was barking like a dog in public. These two pieces of news were like bombs that blew everyone's minds. The Tuoba family was a powerful family of seeker spiritualists. They were very famous in the eastern wilderness. Everyone naturally knew that Tuoba Tianfeng was the third genius. However, they did not expect him to bark like a dog in public after losing a bet. This was truly unbelievable. They were all guessing who could win against Tuoba Tianfeng. Could it be a genius of the Ouyang family? Or an elite of the Huangfu family? However, they were all surprised by the outcome. It was an unfamiliar and mysterious young man. They did not know his background. However, he had obtained a divine crystal and defeated Tuoba Tianfeng. Tuoba Tianfeng's loss was justified. Although he was powerful and obtained a rare ice and fire crystal, it was still not comparable to a real divine crystal. Yes, a divine crystal had appeared. Moreover, it was in the hands of a young man. This was really surprising. Who is that kid? How can he be so powerful? In an instant, everyone was trying to figure out Lin Xian's identity. When the other experts of the Tuoba family heard this, they were so angry that they vomited blood. Angry, they were too angry. The Tuoba family had always been high and mighty. They had never been humiliated like this. Chapter 1933. On the other hand, Lin Xian continued to search for strange stones near the Dragon Transformation Gorge. Soon he arrived at the Dragon Transformation Lake. The lake water was clear and he could not see the bottom. It was extremely deep. The Dragon Transformation Lake was filled with spiritual qi. It was like a jade crystal embedded in the ground. Not far from the lake there was a bamboo house. A few bamboos were planted next to the bamboo house, which was full of green jade and lush green. Wild flowers swayed all over the place and there were a few stones there. Is this also a stall? Lin Xian walked over, puzzled. However, at that moment, a few cold voices came from behind. Over there. It's that kid. Hearing those voices, Lin Xian, the dark red dragon, and old monster Dugu stopped in their tracks and turned to look. Then they frowned. This was because the people who had come were none other than the Tuoba family. Fuck, they're still here. Why are they here so soon? The dark red dragon frowned. These people were really annoying. Old monster Dugu reminded him, young master, although you defeated Tuoba Tianfeng, you must not be careless. The Tuoba family is famous in the eastern wilderness. They must have a strong foundation and strength. Lin Xian nodded. He naturally understood that as well. However, he had the heavenly secret divine eyes, so he was not afraid of the Tuoba family. Given some time, he could train the heavenly secret child prodigy to a higher level. He could even trample on any seeker family. While Lin Xian and the others were talking, the Tuoba family members caught up. They stared at Lin Xian fiercely, their eyes filled with murderous intent. Kid, you're the one who cut out the divine crystal? You're the one who dared to provoke the Tuoba family? You really don't know what's good for you. Kneel down in front of everyone and apologize to the Tuoba family. If you do, I can spare your life. Otherwise, you'll suffer a terrible fate. Spare my life. Lin Xian sneered. You think too highly of yourself. Also, the previous competition was very fair. Each person chose a stone to gamble on. This is what everyone saw. It's just that your Tuoba family's people aren't good enough and made such an agreement. You can't blame me for making a fool of yourself. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame Tuoba Tianfeng for being too arrogant. He wanted to harm others, but he ended up harming himself instead. You're courting death. Hearing this, the experts of the Tuoba family were furious. They naturally understood this logic, but they couldn't take it lying down. Because they were still the laughingstock of everyone's conversations, they had to do something to prove themselves. Therefore they targeted Lin Xian. As long as he defeated the other party, he would be able to get back at them for the humiliation he had suffered. Kid, Tuoba Tianfeng wasn't in his best condition earlier, so he lost to you. Do you dare to compete with me again? A middle-aged man shouted coldly. Light flickered in his eyes as purple runes formed a diamond-shaped pattern. Not interested. Lin Xian shook his head. His time was precious, and he would not casually exchange blows with any Tom, Dick, or Harry. The dark red divine dragon sneered. You want to compete with us? Fine, cut out a piece of divine crystal in front of everyone first. Otherwise, no matter how powerful you are, you will lose to us if you can't cut out a divine crystal. The Tuoba family was so angry that they vomited blood. Was a divine crystal that easy to cut out? They had never cut out a divine crystal in their entire lives. Not to mention them, even the elders of their family were unable to cut out a divine crystal. What divine crystal? You were just lucky to cut it out. I don't believe that you can cut out a second divine crystal. The Tuoba family shouted angrily. They didn't believe that Lin Xian could cut out a divine crystal with his own strength. In their opinion, Lin Xian was just lucky to have come across it. Just as they were arguing, a maid in a blue dress suddenly appeared in the bamboo house in front of them. She quickly came forward and said coldly, "Who are you? Don't make a ruckus here and disturb my young Mississippi. Your young miss? Who is your young miss? How dare you meddle in the affairs of the Tuoba family? The Tuoba family members were extremely arrogant. The Tuoba family members were already unhappy. Now that someone had stepped out to discipline them, they were about to go crazy. Therefore, they sneered and didn't take the other party seriously. The little maid was so angry that her face turned pale. She said angrily, "The Tuoba family is too arrogant. Do you know who my young miss is? Do you know where you are?" "I don't care who your young miss is. Could it be that she's a fairy? If you know what's good for you, get out of here. Don't meddle in the affairs here. Otherwise we'll take care of you too," the Tuoba family member said fiercely. She was just a little maid. They didn't take her seriously. But, however, at that moment the sound of a guqin came from the house. It was like a high mountain and flowing water that streaked across the void. When the sound was heard, the void vibrated and stimulated one's soul. Suddenly, the mysterious sound wave swept toward the Tuoba family. When they heard the sound of the guqin, the Tuoba family members' expressions changed. That was because they could sense that the guqin contained a powerful soul power and a biting cold murderous intent. In the next moment, they didn't dare to be careless and put up their defenses. However, they couldn't stop it at all. More than a dozen Tuoba family members vomited blood. Their bodies couldn't stop trembling. The sound of the guqin had injured their souls. Lin Xian frowned at the side. The dark red divine dragon also had a grave expression. The sound of the guqin was too terrifying. Old Monster Dugu's expression changed drastically. He channeled all his energy to resist the guqin. However, the sound of the guqin was too profound. He couldn't resist it. Fortunately, Lin Xian put up a defense at the critical moment and blocked the sound of the guqin. "Thank you, young master." Old Monster Dugu hurriedly thanked him. If it wasn't for Lin Xian, he might have suffered the same fate as the Tuoba family members. His soul would have been injured and he would have vomited blood. As for the Tuoba family members, they were shocked and furious. First of all, the other party's methods were too terrifying. The sound of the guqin had injured more than a dozen of them. That kind of method was heaven-defying. Moreover, the other party dared to attack the Tuoba family. That meant that the other party had nothing to fear. Who was that person? How could he have such a method? One of the middle-aged men gritted his teeth and said, "Damn it, how dare you attack us here? Don't you know the rules of the Dragon Transformation Lake?" They were furious. Although they couldn't defeat the other party, they wanted to use the rules of the lake to suppress the other party. One had to know that the lake was jointly presided over by the 5 great sage. No matter how powerful a person was, they wouldn't have a good ending if they dared to break the rules there. However, the young maidservant sneered and said, "Attack? When did I attack you? My family's young miss only played a song." The Tuoba family members were so angry that they vomited blood. Indeed, after that, the pleasant sound of the guqin came from the bamboo house again. It was like a dancing fairy that was intoxicating. They were furious. The other party was clearly attacking them, but they couldn't find any weakness. What was even more detestable was that they were the only ones who were injured. The detestable kid in front of them didn't receive any injuries. Chapter 1934. Damn it! Are you guys in cahoots? The sound of the guqin was so powerful that they couldn't even withstand it. Naturally, they didn't believe that Lin Xian and the other two could withstand it. Therefore, they subconsciously thought that Lin Xian was in cahoots with the people in the bamboo house. "Good lad. How dare you team up with others to hurt us? Just you wait. The Tuoba family won't let this go." These people decided to go back and ask the elders to come over. They had to teach Lin Xian a lesson. However, a few elders passed by and sneered when they saw this scene. The Tuoba family is too arrogant. How dare they behave so atrociously here? Don't worry about them. It's good to let them suffer a little. Hearing the elders say this, the Tuoba family felt that something was wrong. Could it be that this was some kind of terrifying dragon's lair or tiger's den? Therefore they asked, "What's going on here? Is there anything strange?" They really don't know what's good for them. They don't even know where this is. How dare they behave so arrogantly here? An old man sneered, "Since I know your clan's elder, I'll remind you. This is the territory of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. You'd better behave yourselves here. Otherwise no one can save you." "What? This is the shop of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground?" The Tuoba family was completely dumbfounded. Although the Tuoba family was powerful, they couldn't be compared to a top sacred ground like the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. Moreover, the Jade Lake Sacred Ground was one of the 5 great sage lands that hosted the Stone Gambling Conference. How dare they behave atrociously here? They were courting death. Thinking of this, cold sweat trickled down their faces. More than that, do you know who's in the bamboo house? She's not an ordinary person. I heard that she's the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. How dare you behave atrociously in front of her? Hurry up and kowtow to apologize. The Jade Lake Sacred Ground. This time the Tuoba family was really panicking. The Jade Lake Sacred Ground was the top genius of the younger generation and the future master of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. How dare they behave so arrogantly in front of such a person? Thinking of their previous actions, they wanted to slap themselves in the face. In the next moment, they hurriedly bowed and said respectfully, "We didn't know that the sacred ground was here. Please forgive us for our sins. We'll leave now." After saying that, these people no longer dared to pay attention to Lin Xian and the others, and quickly left with their tails between their legs. Because they didn't dare to stay here any longer. Old Monster Dugu was also extremely shocked. He whispered, "Young master, let's go. This is not a place we can come to." Although this old Monster Dugu was also incomparably powerful and had few opponents under the almighty level, in front of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground, he did not dare to be arrogant at all. However, Lin Xian acted as if he didn't hear what he said. His gaze was fixed on the bamboo house in front of him. To be honest, when he heard that it was the Jade Lake Saint, he was extremely excited. Because the Jade Lake Saintess was Murong Qingqing. Originally, he wanted to wait until the matter of the All Beginnings Holy Land was settled before looking for the other party. Who would have thought that the other party would actually show up now? It had been a long time since he last saw Qingqing. Now that he knew that she was here, how could he not be excited? Lovesickness quickly flowed through his body. On the side, the dark red dragon also grinned. It's actually that little girl. I didn't expect her strength to reach such a level. Previously, when Murong Qingqing had parted with them, she had just become a king. But now, a single zither sound could injure more than a dozen powerful 6-star kings. Such strength could be said to be heaven-defying. When old Monster Dugu saw that Lin Xian and the dark red dragon's expressions didn't change, he immediately became afraid. These 2 young masters couldn't be thinking of doing something to the Jade Lake Saintess, right? Thinking of this, he broke out in cold sweat. "Young master, it's best not to act blindly without thinking. This Jade Lake Sacred Ground is different from the Tuoba family. Don't worry, old man. Nothing will happen," said the dark red dragon. Damn. They really dare to have ideas about the Saintess. Old Monster Dugu broke out in cold sweat. These 2 guys were too bold. How could he know that Lin Xian and the dark red dragon were not only bold, but they had also killed the Saintess of All Beginnings not long ago? Of course, it was impossible for old Monster Dugu to know this news. Moreover, it was different this time. The Saintess inside was very likely to be Murong Qingqing. She was Lin Xian's woman. Therefore there wouldn't be any danger. In front of them, the melodious sound of a zither was very pleasing to the ear. It seemed to pull one's soul into a fairyland. Just from the sound of the zither, one could tell how powerful the cultivation of the person inside was. However, the little maidservant in front of him frowned. "Why are you still not leaving?" To be honest, she was also very puzzled. The previous zither sound had injured more than a dozen Tuoba family experts. But the 3 people in front of her were unharmed. She knew her young master's strength, but the 3 people in front of her were actually able to resist her, which really surprised her. Now, the 3 of them still hadn't left, which made her even more vigilant. Could it be that these 3 are up to something? Behind them, the few elders who were strolling around said, "Young man, I advise you to leave quickly. This is not a place for you to stay." Yes, not to mention you, even the genius disciples of the sacred lands would be turned away if they wanted to see her. Unless a real saint or saintess comes, they might be able to enter. After hearing this, Lin Xian smiled faintly. "Seniors, don't worry. I won't mess around. I'm just standing here and listening to the zither sound. Can't I? Can you understand it?" The little maid curled her lips. Lin Xian smiled and said, a little? As he admired the sound of the zither, he looked around and his gaze landed on a few stones in front of the bamboo house. Runes flashed in Lin Xian's eyes. He looked forward and was surprised. These stones have an extraordinary origin. He realized that the black demonic aura in these stones was denser than that of the divine crystal. "You can understand this too?" The little maid asked. "What's there to not understand? We cut out a divine crystal before." The dark red dragon said proudly. "Cut out a divine crystal. So you're the mysterious Seeker Soul Master that's been rumored recently. Obviously, Lin Xian's reputation had spread throughout the entire stone gambling conference, so the beautiful little maid had naturally heard of him. Yes, how is it? Now you know how powerful we are. Hurry up and invite us in for tea. The dark red dragon said quickly. No way. It's impossible for you to see my young master. Not to mention you, even the Saint of Thousand Thunder was sent back yesterday. Chapter 1935. The dark red divine dragon frowned and said, Kid, someone is probably trying to steal your treasure. Lin Xian's face also darkened. That guy dared to come here. He's courting death. I let him go last time. The next time I see him, I won't let him go. On the side, old Monster Duga's eyes almost popped out when he heard this. What? Won't let the 10,000 Thunder Saint off? Heaven's little ancestor, do you know what you're talking about? That was the 10,000 Thunder Saint. He was the pinnacle existence among the younger generation. Other than the saints of the other sacred lands, not many young people were his match. Could it be that you want to attack the 10,000 Thunder Saint? Old Monster Duga couldn't believe it. In fact, old Monster Duga didn't know that this was nothing. It wasn't like Lin Xian hadn't fought the 10,000 Thunder Saint before. Moreover, he had beaten him like a dog. If it weren't for the Path Protector, the 10,000 Thunder Saint would have died long ago. Lin Xian didn't say anything else. Instead, he looked at the few stones in front of him again. This time, his expression was incomparably solemn. Mysterious Tao patterns appeared in his eyes. He used the God's Eye of Weather, emitting a mysterious aura. However, the more he looked, the more shocked he was. These stones all contained a magical power. Fortunately, he had the heavenly secret divine eye. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to see it clearly at all. These stones are really not simple. Where did they come from? They actually contain a magical power. You can see it? The little maid at the side was even more surprised. No wonder you can cut out divine crystals. Actually, it's fine to tell you. These stones were obtained from the Primordium Ancient Mine. What? From the Primordium Ancient Mine. Hearing this, Lin Xian was moved. On the side, the dark red divine dragon and old Monster Dugu were even more shocked. The Primordium Ancient Mine was a life-forbidden zone, a forbidden area for humans. How did the other party get it? The dark red divine dragon was even more excited. As expected of the Jade Lake sacred ground, they were really generous. They even took out such stones. He had lived for thousands of years, so he naturally knew more. Some sacred grounds had some stones from the Primordium Ancient Mine, but very few people took them out. He hadn't expected that the Jade Lake sacred ground would take the initiative to offer it. As for the beautiful maid, she stared at Lin Xian and asked carefully, What can you see? Is there anything inside? She was also very curious. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. I can't see it clearly for now. It's covered by a cloud of demonic qi. Is that so? If even you can't see it clearly, I'm afraid very few people can. Unless it's one of those living fossils or a celestial spirit master. Lin Xian wasn't lying. He really couldn't see clearly. Of course, this was also the reason why he did not use his heavenly secret God eyes with his full strength. If he used his Tianji God eyes with all his might, he might be able to see what was inside. However, he didn't dare to use his full strength because once he used his full strength, he wouldn't be able to suppress the golden light. At that time, his eyes would emit a golden light, and those strange runes would definitely attract the attention of those who were interested. With a little deduction, Zhang Xian knew that his eyes were the heavenly fake God eyes. If this news were to be exposed, the five great sage would probably take action against him first. Therefore, he wouldn't use his full strength. Of course, if he wanted to use it, he would have to isolate everything. On the side, the dark red dragon said again, Little girl, we've talked so much that we're thirsty. Aren't you going to invite us in for a cup of tea? In your dreams. You want to go in for a cup of tea? No way. The little maidservant said angrily. Unless you can cut out the treasure from these stones, you'd better go back. Hearing these words, old Monster Dugu sighed. It was easier said than done to cut out the treasure from these Primordium Ancient Mine stones. He had heard of these stones before. They were very evil, and even those powerful Seeker Spirit Masters often failed to cut them. Very few people could cut out the real thing. Moreover, these stones were very expensive and could be said to be heaven-defying. Ordinary people couldn't afford them at all. Lin Xian wouldn't cut the stones now, but he still said calmly, Let us in. Maybe I'm an old friend of your miss? What old friend? Don't even think about getting acquainted with my Mississippi. My miss doesn't have any old friends. No way, isn't your Miss Murong little girl? The dark red dragon said with a smile. What? How do you know my miss name? This time, the little maidservant was completely stunned. She was very confused and stared at Lin Xian and the other two with an unfriendly expression. What are you doing? Hurry up and leave or don't blame me for being rude. However, at that moment, a cold voice came from the bamboo house. Schwanger, don't be rude. Mississippi, hearing this, the little maidservant didn't say anything and stood to the side with her hands down. However, she still stared at Lin Xian and the other two with an unfriendly expression. In the bamboo house, the voice sounded again. I wonder which old friend you're talking about? I really do have a few old friends? Of course it's Jianghu's old friends, Lin Xian said. What? Hearing this, the person in the bamboo house exclaimed. Then the melodious zither music stopped abruptly. After a while, the voice sounded again. I do have a few old friends. I wonder who you're talking about. Miss Murong, how come you can't even recognize us? The dark red dragon said. Come out and take a look. In front of them, a figure walked out of the house. She was wearing a white floor-length dress with pink embroidery on the wide hem. Her arm was wrapped in purple silk, about a zhang long, and her waist was slender, tied with a purple belt inlaid with jadeite. Her jet-black hair was tied up with a light purple ribbon. A few strands of hair fell mischievously on her shoulders, making her delicate skin look even fairer. She didn't have any makeup on her face, but she looked fresh and attractive. Beside them, old Master Dugu was stunned. Was this the Jade Lake Saint? She was indeed a peerless beauty. A trace of excitement appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. It was indeed Murong Qingqing. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. Had she become more outstanding? That's right, the person who came out was Murong Qingqing. Her eyes were like water as she glanced at Lin Xian and the other two. Then she frowned slightly. She had never seen these three people before, but for some reason, the young man in front of her gave her a very familiar feeling. The flaming dragon horse beside him had a familiar ruffian aura. What's wrong, Qingqing? You don't recognize me? Lin Xian smiled and raised his hand to release a dragon-shaped sword aura. Seeing the dragon-shaped sword aura, Murong Qingqing trembled. She could clearly sense the power of the great dragon sword soul contained in the sword aura. Chapter 1936. In other words, the young man in front of her was Lin Xian. No wonder she felt that he was so familiar. Why are you here? Murong Qingqing was so excited that her voice trembled. This scene stunned the little maid and old Monster Dugu. They couldn't believe that Lin Xian knew Murong Qingqing. And from the looks of it, they were very familiar with each other. I originally wanted to look for you after some time, but I didn't expect to meet you here in advance. What, aren't you going to invite me in? Lin Xian said with a smile. Come in quickly. Murong Qingqing also lost her initial calmness. Old man, let's not go in. Let them go in. The dark red dragon said from the side. As for the little maid, she was dumbfounded. She had never seen her young miss so excited before. Old Master Dugu didn't go in either. Instead, he stood at the side. However, his heart was in turmoil, because he was very curious about the relationship between the two. Could it be that they knew each other before? However, he would never have guessed that the two of them were actually lovers. The interior of the room was very simple, but it had a unique flavor. There was a table with a guqin on it. It had an aura of vicissitudes. At first glance, it was obvious that it had been passed down from ancient times. Brother Xian. Qingqing. Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing looked at each other. Love appeared in their eyes. Then they hugged each other tightly. As for the little maid outside the room, she secretly peeked into the room. However, when she saw the two of them hugging each other, she was completely stunned. Heavens, what's going on? She didn't dare to imagine. Her young lady was the saint of the Jade Lake. She was a high and mighty existence. Moreover, her young lady might not even care about someone like the Saint of Thousand Thunder. But now, an unfamiliar young man was able to gain the favor of her young lady. Moreover, the two of them were hugging each other now. This was too unbelievable. The little maid rubbed her eyes and realized that she wasn't dreaming. It really happened. The next moment she almost screamed. Fortunately, the dark red divine dragon sent her a voice transmission and briefly explained the situation. Only then did the little maid calm down. As Murong Qingqing's maid, she naturally knew some things about Murong Qingqing. She knew that Murong Qingqing came from a faraway island. She also had a sweetheart named Lin Xian. However, she did not expect that the young man before her was the legendary Lin Xian. Looking at his strength, he doesn't seem to be very outstanding. The little maid sized up Lin Xian. However, the spirit-seeking technique is still very powerful. To be able to cut out divine crystals at such a young age, I'm afraid that even those powerful families of spirit-seeking masters don't have many people with such talent. In this aspect, he's a good match for my lady. The little girl began to think about these things now. However, she did not know that Murong Qingqing had already pledged her life to Lin Xian. Inside the house, Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing hugged each other for a long time before the two of them slowly separated. Murong Qingqing said, "Shuang, guard outside. If there's no special situation, don't let anyone in." "Yes." The little maid nodded. Murong Qingqing waved her hand and a formation enveloped the bamboo house, isolating it from the outside world. "Brother Xian, I missed you." Murong Qingqing raised her small face. "Me too." Lin Xian smiled and gently stroked Murong Qingqing's hair. Then the two of them briefly recounted their experiences. Murong Qingqing was fine. Her life had been very smooth. After she entered the Jade Lake sacred ground, she was directly favored by the Queen Mother of the West because of her Phoenix bloodline. She was even accepted as a closed-door disciple. Under the vigorous cultivation of the Jade Lake sacred ground, coupled with Murong Qingqing's talent and terrifying bloodline power, her cultivation strength improved rapidly. Now she had become the holy maiden of the Jade Lake sacred ground. However, when Murong Qingqing heard about Lin Xian, she was very nervous. She did not expect that Lin Xian had experienced so many things after she separated from him. In fact, every single one of them made her extremely shocked. Especially when she heard that Lin Xian had joined forces with Lu Mingyue to kill the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings, she almost exclaimed. The Holy Maiden of All Beginnings was also a holy maiden. As a holy maiden, she knew how powerful a holy maiden could be. But even so, Lin Xian was still able to succeed. It really shocked her to the core. "Big brother Xian, what do you plan to do next?" Murong Qingqing asked. Although Lin Xian was not in danger now, if Lin Xian's identity was exposed, the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings would definitely hunt him down. So, she naturally had to support Lu Mingyue. After all, she had worked so hard for so long. She could not return empty-handed. As long as Lu Mingyue becomes the new Holy Maiden, it will be greatly beneficial to her. Lin Xian said. "Perhaps I can help you enter the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings," Murong Qingqing said at this time. "After this stone gambling assembly, our 5 great sage lands will hold a small gathering. The location of that gathering will not be at the Dragon Transformation Lake, but at the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings. At that time I will also be there. You can quickly enter the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings with me. That is the safest method." "Okay." Lin Xian nodded. Since he had a way to enter the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings, he still had to make preparations. After all, if he was discovered, he had to have the Black Earth. Only then would he have the ability to protect himself. It was not that he did not believe in Murong Qingqing. Rather, as the Holy Maiden of the Jade Lake, Murong Qingqing had certain restrictions. At the very least, she could not openly oppose the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings. After all, this involved the relationship between the two Holy Maidens. Murong Qingqing also understood this point. In the next moment, she lightly tapped her storage ring and took out a blue crystal. It looked like a star in the sky. "Big brother Xian, this is a divine crystal. Since you have a use for it, I will give it to you." Lin Xian smiled and received it. Then he gently scratched Murong Qingqing's nose. "Girl, you've truly become a blessed girl. You're so rich that you can casually take out a piece of divine crystal." Isn't everything mine yours?" Murong Qingqing said with a smile. Then she gently placed her head on Lin Xian's shoulder. "Qingqing, wait for me. One day I will personally go to the Jade Lake Holy Maiden to propose marriage." Murong Qingqing nodded and blushed. Her current status was not ordinary. Although she had already pledged her life to Lin Xian, she still needed the approval of the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings if she wanted to be together forever. However, she believed that with Lin Xian's talent and great dragon sword soul, as long as he was given enough time, there would be no one on this continent who could be a match for Lin Xian. "Oh right, I also have some news about Qiu. Chapter 1937. "Oh yes, I have some news about Qiu. How is she?" Lin Xian asked. Qiu was naturally Xinjing Qiu. She was also Lin Xian's woman. Furthermore, Murong Qingqing had completely accepted Xinjing Qiu's existence. The two of them were even close, as if they were sisters. Qiu is very special. She has already become the Zixia Saintess. Let me tell you, Chiyoer's bloodline is actually the Khanate constitution. That's a terrifying bloodline constitution. When he heard this, Lin Xian was shocked. The Khanate constitution, as well as the Saint constitution and divine constitution of the clan of the ancients, were all terrifying constitutions. He did not expect Chiyoer to have such a heaven-defying constitution. Not to mention Chiyoer, even Murong Qingqian's body was frightening. It was the legendary phoenix body. Lin Xian felt a wave of pressure. His 2 wives were too outstanding. Although he was very talented, he did not have a special constitution or bloodline. However, he would not be discouraged. With the great dragon sword soul in his body, Lin Xian had absolute confidence that he would not lose to anyone. Even if it was a divine constitution or a saint constitution, he would not be afraid. Just as the 2 of them were chatting in the house, a few figures walked in from outside. One of them was a youth who was very eye-catching. His long purple hair fluttered in the wind, and he had an indescribable evil aura about him. His eyes also glowed with a deep purple light, like a purple gemstone. This youth carried a strong sense of confidence like a god of war. He walked in slowly. There was a purple patch on his thumb, and he was playing with it non-stop at the moment. The purple-haired youth walked quickly towards the bamboo house. Stop right there. Who are you? This is a shop of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. Outsiders should leave immediately. When the little maidservant saw the purple-haired youth walk over, she immediately stood out and said coldly. The purple-haired youth also stopped in his tracks. He was like a true immortal, and his body was surrounded by purple light. I'm the number 1 genius of the Tuoba family, Tuoba Tianci. I have something to discuss with the Jade Lake Saintess. The purple-haired young man said in a deep voice. What? Tuoba Tianci. Hearing this, old man Dugu was extremely shocked. This was the number 1 genius of the Tuoba family. He was much stronger than Tuoba Tianfeng. Who would have thought that he would actually come now? The dark red dragon snorted and looked at Tuoba Tianci unkindly. That little maid Shuang'e appeared to be very indifferent. After all, she followed Murong Qingqian and often saw either saintesses or holy sons. Therefore, she didn't really care about the number 1 genius of the Tuoba family. Therefore, she said coldly, Go back. My young miss is busy now and won't see you. Is something the matter? Hearing this, Tuoba Tianci frowned. From the looks of it, he was not allowed to enter. His expression immediately turned ugly. As the number 1 genius of the Tuoba family, he believed that he was not inferior to those saints and saintesses. Now he hadn't even seen Murong Qingqian's face. How could he be willing to go back? Suddenly, he frowned and said coldly, I really have something to discuss with the Jade Lake Saintess. Our young miss really doesn't have time to see you. The little maid snorted. Even the Thousand Thunder Saint was chased away by her. Not to mention Tuoba Tianci. I'm here to apologize. Previously, a few martial artists of the Tuoba family unintentionally offended the saintess. This time I'm here with sincerity. I hope you won't stop me. Tuoba Tianci said in a deep voice. Although he was dissatisfied with this little maid, he still didn't want to do anything. After all, he knew the strength of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. However, the little maid Shuang'e shook her head and said, Go back. Our young miss really won't see you. Humph. Tuoba Tianci snorted coldly. His expression was unusually cold. A little maid dared to treat him like this. She really didn't know what was good for her. The next moment he took a step forward. A ball of purple light appeared on his body and circled around him. It was as if the purple deity had descended. At the same time, a huge force emerged and filled the sky. It seemed to have formed a purple mountain, suffocating everyone. You. Feeling the surging force, the little maid Shuang'e's face tightened. How dare you fight here? Do you know where you are and who our young miss is? The other party was too arrogant. Even the Thousand Thunder Saint didn't dare to fight here, but Tuoba Tianci dared to. He really didn't know what was good for him. Damn, how dare you fight here? You're revolting. The dark red dragon was also angry. His body swayed and the fiery red light on his body shot into the sky. A terrifying flame aura spread. At the same time, old monster Dugu sighed. However, he also made a move and his aura gushed out. This was not only the Jade Lake's territory but also Lin Xian. Lin Xian finally met with Murong Qingqian. At this moment, the two must have a lot to talk about. How could they allow others to disturb them? Therefore, in the next moment, the dark red dragon stood out. The aura on his body was like the sea, blocking the purple mountain in the sky. Old monster Dugu was like a demon king. Thank you. The little girl, Shuang'er, looked at the dark red dragon and old monster Dugu gratefully. She now felt that compared to the disciples of the aristocratic families, Lin Xian and the other two were more adorable. A beast dares to block the way. You're really courting death. Tuoba Tianxi looked at the dark red dragon in front of him and sneered. You're the beast. Your whole family are beasts. The dark red dragon was angry. He was a divine dragon. Now that he was called a beast, he naturally couldn't stand it. Suddenly, the fiery red flames on his body turned into a red dragon and rushed forward. Boom! The red fiery dragon and the purple mountain collided, shaking heaven and earth. The terrifying scene attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Suddenly, a huge pressure appeared in the sky. That pressure belonged to a mighty figure. Who dares to fight in the dragon transformation lake? A terrifying aura came with a biting cold killing intent. It was about to turn into a purple divine sword and fall from the sky. Buzz! Tuoba Tianxi's face changed. He didn't expect the mighty figure to come out so soon. On the other hand, the dark red dragon snorted. So what if the mighty figure is here? He waved his flames and hit forward, forcing Tuoba Tianxi to retreat and leaving a burn mark on his body. You're courting death. Tuoba Tianxi was furious. How dare the other party hurt him? He was going to attack. At this moment, the killing intent in the sky became even sharper. It was as if it had materialized and was unbearable. Senior, please wait. Seeing this, Murong Qingqing's voice came from the bamboo house. Then, her body swayed and appeared in the void like a fairy. Chapter 1938. Since you are friends of the Jade Lake Saintess, I will let you go this time. But if there is a next time, I will kill you. The cold voice disappeared in the sky. The purple divine sword also disappeared. The terrifying killing intent melted like snow. Seeing this, old monster Dugu and Shuang'er heaved a sigh of relief. The scene just now had scared them to death. They did not have the ability to resist the pressure of such a powerful figure. On the other side, Tuoba Tianxi's face turned ugly. He did not expect that the other party would dare to attack and even attract a powerful figure. Fortunately, the Jade Lake Saintess came out in the end. Otherwise, he would have been killed here today. Thinking of this, he looked at the dark red divine dragon with a furious expression. The dark red divine dragon snorted. So what if a powerful figure was attracted here? He was not an ordinary person. When the powerful figure attacked, he would have a way to escape. Therefore he was not afraid. The next moment, the dark red divine dragon stared at Tuoba Tianxi and said coldly, "Boy, get out of here. Otherwise I will attack again." Lunatic. Hearing this, Tuoba Tianxi's face turned ugly. If a powerful figure was attracted here again, even the Jade Lake Saintess would not be able to resist. However, he did not care about the dark red divine dragon because Murong Qingqing had come out. The next moment, he looked at Murong Qingqing in the sky and smiled confidently. "Jade Lake Saintess, you are indeed beautiful. It is an honor to meet you today." "Who are you?" Murong Qingqing frowned. She swayed her body and came to the front of the bamboo house. "I am Tuoba Tianxi, the #1 young master of the Tuoba family." He was also the #1 seeker spiritual master of the younger generation. Tuoba Tianxi was very confident. Although the Tuoba family was not as powerful as a sacred ground, he believed that with his talent and strength, he would not be weaker than the saints of those sacred grounds. This time he came to solve the problem of the Tuoba family offending the Jade Lake sacred ground. Moreover, he wanted to meet the Jade Lake Saintess. He wanted to see if he could get her. After all, the Jade Lake Saintess was said to be beautiful. As a top genius of the younger generation, Tuoba Tianxi naturally wanted to meet her. However, Tuoba Tianxi was soon stunned. The reason for that was because he discovered that a handsome man had walked out from behind Murong Qingqing. Moreover, the relationship between the two of them seemed to be very close. This scene made Tuoba Ting extremely uncomfortable. As an extremely talented genius, he would not allow such a thing to happen. He was also pursuing Murong Qingqing, so he was mad when he saw Murong Qingqing with another man. In the next moment, he stared at the handsome young man, and a cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. This handsome young man was naturally Lin Xian. When he heard about the situation outside, he also came out. When he sensed the killing intent in Tuoba Tianxi's eyes, he snorted coldly. He had yet to find trouble with the other party, and the other party actually dared to release killing intent towards him. He really didn't know what was good for him. "Kid, who are you?" Tuoba Tianxi asked coldly. He didn't know Lin Xian, and from the looks of it, the other party wasn't a holy son. However, how could such a person be together with Murong Qingqing and be on such good terms with her? My surname is Long. You can call me Brother Long, Lin Xian said calmly. Since he was outside, he naturally had to use a smooth account. He didn't want anyone to know that he was Lin Xian. Surname Long? Hearing this, Tuoba Tianxi furrowed his brows. This person actually dared to ask him to call him Brother Long. He really had a death wish. What Brother Long? I've never heard of you. Which sect are you from? You haven't even heard of me? Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, looking unusually calm. He said calmly, go back and ask Tuoba Tianfeng who defeated him. I think you'll know my identity soon enough. What? It's you? Tuoba Tianxi's face immediately darkened when he heard this. How could he not know that Tuoba Tianfeng had been defeated? What was worse was that Tuoba Tianfeng had barked like a dog on the spot, causing the Tuoba family to lose face and become a laughing stock. The instigator of all this was actually this young man in front of him. How could Tuoba Tianxi not be angry? In the next instant, a cold, murderous intent radiated from his eyes. It was so cold that it almost materialized. Brat, how dare you provoke the Tuoba family? I have to say, you really don't know what's good for you. You'd better kneel down and apologize to the Tuoba family. Otherwise, I can guarantee that you'll end up in a miserable state. This time, before Lin Xian could speak, Murong Qingqing scoffed coldly. She said coldly, Tuoba Tianxi, watch your attitude. Young Master Long is my friend. Damn it. Seeing that even Murong Qingqing had spoken, Tuoba Tianxi's face turned even uglier. His opponent was the Jade Lake Saint. He didn't dare to be impudent in front of her. However, he really felt very uncomfortable holding this breath, and it made him abnormally mad. Therefore he said, Brat, do you dare to have a match with me? I'll let you know how powerful the Tuoba family's soul-seeking skill is. Compete with you? I'm not interested. Lin Xian shook his head. He still had to stay with Murong Qingqing for a while. He wasn't interested in fighting with others. What if I use a divine crystal as a wager? Tuoba Tianxi refused to give up. He waved his hand and took out a black divine crystal. It was extremely black and emitted a mysterious power. A divine crystal. Old Monster Dugu Shuang and the others exclaimed when they saw this. They didn't expect Tuoba Tianxi to be so generous as to use a divine crystal as a wager. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. He was just thinking about how to find a divine crystal when Tuoba Tianxi came knocking on his door. Since this was the case, how could he not want it? Therefore, he nodded slightly and said, Since you're here to give me a divine crystal, I'll play with you. Humph, if you want my divine crystal, let's see what you're capable of. Tuoba Tianxi sneered. As long as Lin Xian agreed to have a match with him, the rest would be easy. He would let Lin Xian know what the Tuoba family's soul-seeking skill was. And the news of the competition between the two swept out like a gust of wind. Instantly, the entire stone gambling event knew about it. Countless people quickly gathered there. Soon the area around the bamboo hut was filled with people. Oh my god, another stone gambling event. I heard that the wager this time is a divine crystal. This is too much. Yeah, even the older generation of soul-seeking masters don't dare to gamble like this. Are the young people nowadays so crazy? Are you kidding me? How could an ordinary young person take out such a wager? Didn't you see that purple-haired man? He's Tuoba Tianxi. He's the most powerful person in the younger generation of the Tuoba family. Chapter 1939. What? It's him? No wonder he's so generous. Obviously, everyone had heard of Tuoba Tianxi's reputation. However, they were soon puzzled. Who dared to make such a bet with Tuoba Tianxi? Could it be someone from the Ouyang clan or the Huangfu clan? Among the three Seeker spiritual master clans, only the Ouyang clan and the Huangfu clan could contend with the Tuoba clan. Neither. Do you remember the mysterious young man who obtained the divine crystal? It's him. What? It's him. No wonder Tuoba Tianxi made a move. That guy made Tuoba Tianfeng bark like a dog in front of everyone. That's a deep grudge. That's right. I think Tuoba Tianxi is here for revenge. After all, the Tuoba clan is not to be trifled with. Sounds of discussion could be heard. Obviously, they were not optimistic about Lin Xian. Even though Lin Xian had obtained the divine crystal, many people thought that it was just luck. Moreover, Tuoba Tianxi was too famous. He was far more famous than Tuoba Tianfeng. Many people even said that Tuoba Tianxi was the most promising genius to become a celestial spiritual master in the past 1,000 years. More and more people gathered around. In the end, even Almighties appeared. This made the crowd even more excited. Not only were Almighties present, but many people from the Ouyang and Huangfu clans were also present. Most of the people from the Tuoba clan were present to support Tuoba Tianxi. There were also many talented martial artists and powerful seeker spiritual masters from the Great Sage Land who came to watch the battle. Feeling the gazes of the crowd, Tuoba Tianxi was rather calm. He looked coldly at Lin Xian and sneered, "Kid, it's not too late to kneel down and beg for mercy. Otherwise you'll die a horrible death. You talk too much. You'd better take care of my divine crystal. If you damage it, I won't let you off." Lin Xian said flatly. "If you have a sharp tongue, I'll make you regret it." Tuoba Tianxi said coldly, his eyes full of disdain. He did not believe that his opponent could beat him in the art of spirit seeking. Lin Xian shrugged. "There's no point in talking anymore. Let's begin. Why don't we choose these stones from the origin ancient mine?" To be honest, these stones were very mysterious. Lin Xian's hands were itching to cut a piece and take a look. However, after Tuoba Tianxi heard that, he sneered disdainfully. "You really are an idiot. Do you know where these stones came from? These are stones from origin ancient mine. Every single one of them has a sky-high price. Can you afford it? Even if you can afford it, can you understand it? Could it be that you can see clearly whether there are treasures inside? Kid, stone gambling is a competition of spirit-seeking skills, not luck. What you're doing is really laughable. How do you know I can't see clearly?" Lin Xian snorted coldly. To be honest, he really wanted to use his heavenly secret divine eyes to see what was so special about the stones from origin ancient mine. Because based on his instincts, Lin Xian felt that there must be something good in these stones. "What? Don't you dare to go? Or can't afford it?" Lin Xian asked in return. Tuoba Tianxi snorted coldly, not bothering to answer. Because in his opinion, Lin Xian was just bluffing. He did not believe that the other party would dare to cut these stones from origin ancient mine. One had to know that as the #1 spirit-seeking master of the younger generation, he did not dare to cut these stones easily. So, he sneered and shook his head. Ridiculous. At this moment, the 2 old ladies from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground also walked over. They looked at Lin Xian and Tuoba Tianxi and said in a deep voice, "Young masters, these stones from origin ancient mine are indeed a little strange. You can't cut them easily. How about this? We still have a batch of good stones in our hands. They were also obtained from a vein near origin ancient mine. Why don't you cut these stones, young masters?" With that, the 2 old ladies waved their embroidered robes, and more than a dozen stones appeared on the lawn in front of them. "Okay, thank you very much, senior." Lin Xian nodded with a smile. On the other side, Tuoba Tianxi's eyes lit up. Obviously, it seemed that he was also about to make a move. "What? Are you betting on stones?" At this moment, a hearty laugh was heard. That voice was like thunder resounding in the sky. Before everyone could turn around, they saw a figure appear in front of them. It was a handsome young man. He was tall and wore a thunder robe as if he was the son of the thunder god. He was extraordinarily handsome. The Thousand Thunder Saint. Seeing this young man, many people exclaimed. They did not expect that the position of the Thousand Thunder Saint would also appear. The Thousand Thunder Saint looked at Murong Qingqing and then said with a smile, "Fairy Murong Qingqing, it's really not easy to see you." "Hello." Murong Qingqing was expressionless, but she still nodded slightly. Everyone was a saint and a saintess, so the necessary etiquette was still necessary. The Thousand Thunder Saint looked at Murong Qingqing with a touch of admiration in his eyes. "Brother Thousand Thunder, you're here too," Tuoba Tianxi said loudly at this moment. "Brother Tianxi, you're so lucky to be able to show off your skills in front of Fairy Murong," the Thousand Thunder Saint said with a smile. It seemed that he had a good relationship with Tuoba Tianxi. Everyone was shocked because these 2 young men were the top of the younger generation. At this moment, the 2 of them stood side by side, looking down at the world with disdain. Even some of the older generation exclaimed that they were not as good as them. Ouyang Mingfei of the Ouyang family. Huangfu Qian of the Huangfu family. They're all here. Many people cried out in surprise as they saw a handsome man walking over. His robe was whiter than snow, and he looked extremely handsome. There was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were as deep as the starry sky, making people lose their sense of direction. This was Ouyang Mingfei, the genius of the Ouyang family. The other woman had a delicate appearance. She was holding a small green umbrella to block the sun. Her skin was abnormally white, and her eyes were as clear as crystal. She was Huangfu Qian, the little princess of the Huangfu family. The Tuoba family, Ouyang family, and Huangfu family were the three major families of spiritual seeker masters in the eastern wilderness. At this moment, the top young geniuses of the three families had appeared at the same time. It was really shocking. Not only that, but there were also a few saints and saintesses behind them. There was the Reverence Moon Saintess and the Thousand Tribulation Saint. 5 Elements Saint. It could be said that many of the top young geniuses of the eastern wilderness had appeared here. The surrounding martial artists were really excited because they usually did not see so many geniuses. Not even one of them. Chapter 1940. Of course, there were 2 reasons for this. First, these people were here to see Murong Qingqing. After all, Murong Qingqing had just become the Jade Lake Saintess. The saints and saintesses of other sacred grounds naturally wanted to find out the truth. Of course, there were also many young and handsome geniuses who came to express their love. Second, it was because of Tuoba Tianzi. Although the Tuoba family was not a sacred ground or a clan of the ancients, their soul-seeking technique was very magical and peculiar. In some aspects, even the martial artists of the sacred grounds might not be able to compete with them. Therefore they naturally wanted to watch Tuoba Tianzi fight. At this moment, the dark red divine dragon stepped forward and said loudly, "You've all come at the right time. You can be witnesses in case the other party cheats when he loses. Everyone listen up. The Tuoba family wants to use a divine gem as a wager. At that time, when he loses, the black divine crystal in his hand will be ours. I'll make this clear in advance." The dark red divine dragon's voice spread clearly in all directions. At this moment, a young man on Tuoba Tianzi's side sneered. "Our brother Tianzi is using a divine gem as a wager. Shouldn't you take out a corresponding wager? Otherwise, wouldn't you be taking advantage of him?" Whoosh. Hearing this, Lin Shen smiled slightly. He flipped his palm and took out a fist-sized divine gem that seemed to be burning with golden flames. A divine gem. Many people exclaimed when they saw the divine gem. They did not expect Lin Shen to take out a divine gem so easily. Heavens, who is this guy? How can he take out a divine gem so casually? Yes, and judging from his appearance, he seems to be on good terms with the Jade Lake Saintess. Where did this guy come from? For a moment, many young and handsome geniuses were hostile to Lin Shen. As expected, the Saint Son of Myriad Thunder spoke again. He also waved his hand and took out a divine gem that was shining with red light. "Since it's a wager, I'll also join in. I bet that Brother Tianzi will win." He looked at Lin Shen and said in a deep voice, "Don't worry, kid. Even if I win, I won't make you pay me another divine crystal. I only need you to leave the Jade Lake Saintess from now on. Don't appear by her side." Hearing this, the crowd was in an uproar. It seemed that the rumor that the 10,000 Thunder Saint Son was in love with the Jade Lake Saintess was true. Otherwise, the 10,000 Thunder Saint Son would not take such a great risk and use the precious divine shock as a bet. After Murong Qingqin heard it, her face sank as well. She was just about to retort when Lin Shen shook his head. He then smiled and said, "Sure. However, if I win, that red divine crystal will be mine." He was too happy. 2 divine crystals had appeared all of a sudden. As long as he won, he would have 4 divine crystals in his hands. 4 deity crystals were more than enough to activate the Black Earth. Moreover, he didn't plan on using the Black Earth to do anything earth-shattering. He only needed the Black Earth to defend. 4 divine crystals are enough. Humph. The 10,000 Thunder Saint Son snorted. Next to him, Tuoba Tianzi also said in a deep voice, "Don't worry, brother 10,000 Thunder. Trust me. That kid was just lucky. He's no match for me." "Of course I believe you." The 10,000 Thunder Saint Son nodded and said, "The title of the #1 Seeker Spiritual Master in the younger generation of the Tuoba family is not just for show. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bet a precious divine crystal." "How do you want to bet?" Lin Shen asked. "I won't bully you. Let's decide the winner in one battle," Tuoba Tianzi replied with a confident look on his face. "Okay." Lin Shen nodded and then whispered to Murong Qingqing, "Wait and see. I'll defeat them all." A smile appeared on Murong Qingqing's delicate face. "I trust you." This smile made the world lose its color. Everyone was dumbfounded. Many martial artists were even drooling because it was too beautiful. However, what shocked them even more was that the relationship between Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing was beyond ordinary friends. Could it be that there was a special relationship between the two of them? At this moment, many young elites felt their hearts ache. The 10,000 Thunder Saint Sun's face darkened. He had been to the Dragon Transformation Lake several times. Except for today, he had never seen Murong Qingqing's face. But now, a young boy with an unknown background had gained Murong Qingqing's favor. It really made him furious. Tuoba Chenxi's face also turned ugly. But then a cold smile appeared on his face. He snorted in his heart. Kid, you can be proud for a while. When I cut out the divine crystal, everyone will know who the real genius is. I think by then Fairy Murong will also look at me with new eyes. And you will be trampled under my feet forever. At this moment, a purple light surged out of Tuoba Chenxi's body, forming a mysterious aura that enveloped him. Not only that, but the purple light in his eyes flickered and turned into a solid light that pierced through the void. It gave people a very oppressive feeling. The entire air became condensed and everyone seemed to be unable to breathe. In the next moment he took a step forward. The entire ground trembled slightly, and the dozen or so strange stones in front of him also trembled. This scene shocked everyone. In the crowd, Yang Mingfei, who was dressed in white, and Huang Fuqian, who had an ethereal temperament, also looked solemn. They knew that Tuoba Chenxi was about to make a move. They were very dissatisfied with Tuoba Chenxi's arrogance. However, they also knew that Tuoba Chenxi was a very talented and powerful spiritual master. He would not lose to any of them. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. This Tuoba Chenxi did have some tricks up his sleeve. With that step just now, more than a dozen purple lights appeared under his feet. It was like an invisible hand that grabbed more than a dozen stones. This caused those stones to tremble with his footsteps. Lin Xian didn't know how to search for spirits. However, he wasn't too worried because he had the heavenly secret divine eyes, a legendary pair of eyes. It was a legendary technique that could see through everything in the world. So what if Tuoba Chenxi's eye technique was powerful? It could not be compared to his heavenly secret divine eyes. On the opposite side, Tuoba Chenxi's aura became even more terrifying. It was like a peerless beast that was quickly recovering. Within his purple eyes, there was even a purple flame with a mysterious aura. Buzz. The void trembled. The purple eyes turned into a purple divine red that was dozens of meters long and covered the dozen stones in front of him. Those stones seemed to be dragged by a pair of purple hands. They slowly rose into the air and then spun non-stop. Chapter 1941. What a terrifying spirit-seeking technique. What a terrifying pupil technique. At this moment, everyone was shocked. They more or less knew about this spirit-seeking technique. Moreover, those powerful spirit-seeking masters had solemn expressions and even felt ashamed of their inferiority. But after a while the void trembled. Then more than a dozen stones fell to the ground without any damage. In the sky there was another stone floating there. The stone was not big, only the size of a basketball. There were 3 round holes on it, each of which was the size of a walnut. They were distributed on the stone, which was very strange. This was the 3-orifice magical stone. Yang Mingfei frowned, and his handsome face was full of solemnity. On the side, Huang Fuqian also opened her red lips and said, Tuoba Chenxi is really crazy. He dares to choose this 3-orifice magical stone. What's wrong with this stone? Is there something wrong with it? The other martial artists looked at each other, not knowing the reason. At this moment, an older spirit-seeking master said in a deep voice, this kind of 3-orifice magical stone is very strange. Legend has it that there's either a peerless treasure or nothing inside. Can be said to be 2 extremes. What? It turned out to be like this. If there's no peerless treasure, there'll be nothing? This was really shocking. It seemed that Tuoba Chenxi was determined to choose a peerless treasure. The Holy Sun was also a little worried. Brother Chenxi, are you confident? Trust me, Brother Wanlei. My spirit-seeking technique has broken through again not long ago, so I'm very confident. Well, I'll bet with you. The Saint Son of 10,000 Thunder said with a smile. The other holy sons, holy daughters, mighty figures, and the surrounding martial artists were also shocked. This was really an exciting gamble. This guy is really crazy. Be careful. Even Murong Qingqing looked solemn. Obviously, she also knew how terrifying this 3-orifice magical stone was. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded and gave Murong Qingqing a calm look. This time, the old lady from the Jade Lake's sacred ground stood up and asked in a deep voice, Young master, have you decided to choose this three-orifice magical stone? That's right, Tuoba Tianxi said. The old woman from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground said again, this three-orifice strange stone is 4,000 kilograms of crystals. What? 8,000 caddies of crystals. So expensive. Hearing this, everyone was extremely shocked. This is really a sky-high price. 8,000 genes of crystal stones, that was a huge sum. Even a king would be able to cultivate for a long time. Now it was only the price of a piece of stone. Moreover, this stone might not necessarily contain any treasures. Sure enough, stone gambling was exciting. Lin Xian was also very surprised. This price was indeed too expensive. Therefore, in the next moment he looked at Tuoba Tianxi. Tuoba Tianxi's expression was grave. Clearly the price was out of his expectations. But this time he had already boasted. It was impossible to turn back now. Moreover, he was very confident in his soul-seeking technique. In the next moment he took out a storage ring and tossed it to the old lady of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. There are 4,000 kilograms of crystal stones in here. I hope Senior can take a look. The old lady of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground took the storage ring and probed it with her soul power. Soon she nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. Now this three-orifice strange stone is yours. As she spoke, she waved her hand and the three-orifice strange stone came to Tuoba Tianxi's feet. The surrounding people were shocked. They did not expect Tuoba Tianxi to really spend 4,000 kilograms of crystal stones to buy a piece of stone. This was too crazy. If nothing was cut out, it would be a huge loss. That's 4,000 kilograms. I can't earn that much in my lifetime. No wonder he's the #1 genius of the Tuoba family. He's really rich. Fuck, comparisons are odious. What do you know? If Tuoba Tianxi dares to do this, he must have his reasons. Think about it. If a peerless treasure is cut out, wouldn't he be rich? So think about it. 4,000 kilograms is not too much. Not too much. The corners of everyone's mouth twitched. This price was not much for top geniuses like the saints, saintesses, and Tuoba Tianxi. But for ordinary kings like them, this was definitely a shocking price. It was a price that they did not even dare to imagine. Tuoba Tianxi waved his hand and held the three-orifice strange stone in his hand. Then he smiled and looked at Lin Xian. Kid, it's your turn. I'm curious. Can you afford one of these stones with the money you have? You don't have to worry about it, Lin Xian said indifferently. After which, he took a step forward and slowly arrived in front of the dozens of rocks. Buzz. In the next moment, countless golden auras were released from his body. It was as if he was a deity. It formed a golden cloud and completely enveloped him. Together with it were the dozens of stones. What's going on? What is this kid trying to do? Is he trying to snatch the stones? Oh my god, is he using the spirit-seeking technique? Why haven't we seen this before? Numerous voices of bewilderment sounded. Obviously, they couldn't understand Lin Xian's actions at all. The two old ladies from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground were also confused. Then they looked at Murong Qingqing. Murong Qingqing nodded and gave them a reassuring look. She trusted Lin Xian unconditionally. The two old ladies from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground didn't stop their saintess when they saw her like this. However, they were still very vigilant in case Lin Xian suddenly ran away. Lin Xian was not running away. He used the golden aura to cover the stones so that he could fully display his heavenly secret divine eyes. After all, when the heavenly secret divine eyes were fully displayed, it would emit strange runes and golden light. He had to cover it up. Otherwise, it would be bad if he was discovered. When Tuoba Tianxi saw Lin Xian and the golden light around him, he sneered. What a trick. You think you can find the real strange stone by creating other scenes? What a ridiculous idea. Kid, I don't think you're a spirit-seeking master. You're just a piece of trash who got lucky. You'll eventually show your true form in front of me. Lin Xian did not reply. He was still fully displaying his heavenly secret divine eyes. The golden light shone and strange runes appeared in his eyes. This caused his eyes to turn completely golden, making him look extremely mystical and mysterious. Fortunately, he had already unleashed a golden sun-like radiance in advance, enveloping the surroundings. Otherwise, his eyes would definitely cause everyone to be shocked. Even so, he had underestimated the golden prodigy. Chapter 1942. Boom, boom, boom. The void trembled and the air froze. It was as if there was a pair of mysterious eyes coldly watching the world. At this moment, Everyone's soul trembled inexplicably as fear rose from the bottom of their hearts. Damn it, what's going on? Why do I feel like I'm drenched? It can't be related to this kid, right? Fuck me, this is too strange. Is this kid using some kind of demonic technique? They were all terrified, not understanding what was going on. However, the powerful Seeker Spirit Masters were even more shocked. They all had eye techniques, but their eye techniques were suppressed. Some people's eyes even dimmed like flames that would be extinguished at any moment. What's going on? My eye technique is ineffective? Damn it, what did this kid do? At this moment, even the saints and saintesses had serious expressions. Ouyang Mingfei and Huang Fuqian had even more serious expressions. They also felt a pressure from their souls. Tuoba Qianxi's expression was ugly. He originally thought that the other party was just lucky and didn't have any strength. He was a piece of trash. But now it seemed that wasn't the case. The other party's aura made him feel uncomfortable. It seemed that Tuoba Qianfeng's defeat wasn't a coincidence, but because the other party was too strong. Damn it, who is this kid? How can he have such a terrifying eye technique? Tuoba Qianxi gritted his teeth and stared ahead. The two old ladies from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground were also surprised. They had never seen such a phenomenon before. They even thought of a legend. Could it be an Earth Spirit Master? Seeker Spirit Master was a very special profession. It was like alchemists and array masters, but those who knew the Lord Spirit technique were even rarer. Since it was a profession, there were ranks. Ordinary Seeker Spirit Masters were divided into 9 ranks. For example, Tuoba Qianxi was a rank 9 Seeker Spirit Master. He was young and stood at the peak of Seeker Spirit Masters. Of course, he was only at the peak of Seeker Spirit Masters. Above Seeker Spirit Masters, there were even more powerful existences. They were Earth Spirit Masters. Earth Spirit Masters were terrifying. Their power and abilities were beyond everyone's imagination. They weren't weaker than peerless powerhouses. Above the Earth Spiritualist, there was the even more mysterious and terrifying Sky Spiritualist. However, Celestial Spirit Masters were very mysterious. They had not appeared for many years, and no one had been able to cultivate to such a heaven-defying level. Lin Xian's current state reminded the two old ladies of an Earth Spirit Master. Lin Xian activated his heavenly secret god eyes, emitting mysterious runes. Soon he locked onto a stone among the dozen or so stones. That stone was completely gray and was about a meter tall. Compared to the 3-orifice Wonderstone that he Tuoba had chosen, it could be said to be a giant. However, when Tuoba Qianxi saw this scene, he sneered. "Brat, I originally thought that you were very powerful. I didn't expect that you were just bluffing. Don't think that you can find treasures just because you chose a big stone." He had also examined the stone in Lin Xian's hand, but he didn't find any signs of treasure inside. Therefore he guessed that it should be a useless rock. Moreover, ordinary spiritual masters wouldn't choose this kind of stone. He didn't expect that the young fellow would choose that kind of stone. Lin Xian ignored this provocation. He turned to look at the old lady from the Jade Lake Holy Land and asked in a deep voice, "Senior, how much is this stone?" 1,500 kilograms of crystals, the old lady from the Jade Lake Holy Land said slowly. Hearing this, everyone was in an uproar and discussed animatedly. 1,500 kilograms of crystals was also a sky-high price, but compared to the 4,000 kilograms from before, it was indeed much worse. In other words, even the Jade Lake Holy Land thought that the 1-meter-tall stone was not as good as the 3-orifice Wonderstone. That was natural. The 3-orifice Wonderstone was incomparably mysterious and could not be compared to any other stone. Moreover, based on the price alone, it could be seen that the people from the Jade Lake Holy Land did not care much about the 1-meter-tall stone. Discussions sounded one after another. Even Ouyang Mingfei and Huang Fuqian frowned. To be honest, during this process they had been using their eye skills to observe, but they did not find anything unusual about this 1-meter-tall stone. Therefore, even if they were given 2 choices, they would not choose this stone. The 3-orifice Wonderstone that Tuoba Qianxi chose is indeed extraordinary. According to my guess, there's an 80% chance that there's a treasure inside. Ouyang Mingfei said in a low voice, "But I can't see through that 1-meter-tall stone." "I can't see through it either." Huang Fuqian also frowned. "I didn't see any light inside, nor did I use the spirit-seeking art to sense the aura of divine crystals or rare crystals. If a person's judgment is wrong, it's understandable. But the 3 of us top-notch spiritual masters didn't discover the secret of that stone. Why did the young fellow choose that stone? Could it be that he was just lucky and didn't know the spirit-seeking art? That's impossible, right? Just now, he clearly used some kind of strange eye technique. The power of that eye technique made even us shudder in fear. It's hard to imagine that he doesn't know the spirit-seeking art. Could it be that his eye skill saw something special? What special thing could it be? Other than divine crystals, there's also ancient spiritual medicine. But even if the ancient spiritual medicine is sealed, we can still find it through the spirit-seeking art. Huang Fuqian frowned. She really couldn't understand. Yang Fei said faintly, "Forget it. If you don't understand, don't think about it. Anyway, the two of them will cut the stone soon. We'll know if there's anything inside soon." After the two of them chose, the next step was to cut the stone. Tuoba Chensi was very confident. He cut the stone first. Crack, crack, crack. The small knife in his hand fell quickly, and the stone kept dancing. Tuoba Chensi was very careful. Every cut was very precise. After a dozen cuts, a light suddenly lit up from the crack. It was so bright that it shone in the sky. Accompanying it was an aura that shook everyone's hearts. This aura? Is it a divine crystal? An older spiritual master widened his eyes. Heavens, there's really a treasure. It's a divine crystal. The surrounding martial artists were shocked to see this. They didn't expect that someone would cut out a divine crystal so soon. The last time a divine crystal was cut out was not long ago. It was Lin Xian. They didn't expect that only a day later Tuoba Chensi would cut out a divine crystal. There was indeed a treasure, and it was a divine crystal. Tuoba Chensi was quite lucky. Chapter 1943. There's indeed a treasure, and it's a divine crystal. Tuoba Chensi is quite lucky. Yangming's eyes flickered. On the side, Huang Fuqian snorted softly. The holy son of myriad thunder heaved a sigh of relief. He believed that they had won since the divine crystal was cut out. His red divine crystal was saved, and he thought that the other party would obediently leave Murong Qingqing's side. As Tuoba Chensi's movements became faster, a sparkling divine crystal appeared in front of everyone. At this moment, the countless martial artists present, including the Holy Son, the Holy Daughter, the senior mighty figures, and the two grannies from the Jade Lake sacred ground were all surprised. They all looked forward with rapt attention. As expected of the top young God-favored spiritual master. His talent and strength were indeed terrifying. Yes, there were very few people who could cut out a divine crystal, and Tuoba Chensi seemed to be only about 30 years old. It was indeed shocking to have such an achievement at such a young age. Exclamations were heard one after another. Tuoba Chensi also raised his chin proudly and looked down at everyone. All of this was within his expectations. Then he looked down at Lin Xian and said coldly, "Boy, how is it? Do you know my strength now? It's impossible for you to win against me. Now kneel in front of me obediently, kowtow, and admit your mistake. What's there to be arrogant about? Didn't you just cut out a divine crystal? What's the big deal? It's not like I haven't cut it out before. Besides, judging from the size of your divine crystal, it's not even as big as the one I cut out before." Lin Xian sneered. Indeed, the divine crystal that Tuoba Chensi cut out was 2 times smaller than Lin Xian's previous one. If you're stubborn, you were completely lucky to be able to cut out a divine crystal last time. I don't believe that you can cut out a divine crystal this time. That rock of yours is just a piece of trash. Just wait and cry. At this point, not only him but everyone around looked at Lin Xian. This was because they were very curious about what kind of treasure Lin Xian could produce after making such a big commotion. The 10,000 Thunder Saint narrowed his eyes. "Brat, hurry up and leave the fairy's side and I can spare your life. Otherwise, don't blame me for taking action." Older brother Xian. Murong Qingqing was also worried, and a trace of worry appeared in her beautiful eyes. She also did not expect that this Tuoba Chensi was actually so impressive, to be able to easily cut out a piece of divine crystal. "Don't worry, I won't lose to him," Lin Xian comforted. He naturally had his reasons for choosing that 1-meter-tall stone. Although he didn't find any light in the stone, it was true that he didn't find any light. However, he deduced that there should be treasures inside because he felt a heart-palpitating aura from inside. It was as if there was a terrifying existence inside the stone. When Lin Xian had encountered that stone, the great dragon sword soul in his body had automatically operated. Lin Xian had never encountered such a scene before. Therefore he chose this stone without hesitation. Because he also wanted to see what exactly was inside that could alarm the great dragon sword soul. Crack, crack. The cracks on the stone became bigger and bigger, but no light appeared. Seeing this, Tuoba Tianci and the disciples of the Tuoba family became complacent again. I told you it's definitely a useless stone. You still don't believe it? Look, there's no light. This brat is not good at all. He can't be compared with my big brother Tuoba Tianci. Tuoba Tianci's lips also curled into a disdainful smile. This scene was within his expectations. The 10,000 Thunder Saints snorted. He knew that he would definitely win this time. Ouyang Mingfei and Huang Fuqian frowned. This shouldn't be. Did we really make a mistake? Lin Xian, on the other hand, was unusually calm. The 1-meter-tall stone in front of him had more and more cracks. Crack, crack, crack. In the end, the entire stone broke into pieces. There's nothing. Murong Qingqing's face was grave. She did not believe that the book would fail. Brat, you've already lost. Kneel down and kowtow to apologize. Tuoba Tianci sneered. The 10,000 Thunder Saints snorted. From now on, stay away from the Jade Lake Saintess, or I'll kill you with my own hands. The disciples of the Tuoba family also sneered. However, Lin Xian snorted. Who said that I lost? Who said that I didn't cut out anything? Open your dog eyes and see what this is. With that, Lin Xian waved his sleeve, and the rubble on the ground rolled down, revealing the situation inside. What's this? The disciples were puzzled. They found that there was indeed something in the rubble, but it was different from what they had imagined. It was not a crystal at all, but a claw. It was a claw as big as a human's palm, but it was furry with green hair. There were also 3 sharp fingernails. Is this a demonic beast's claw? How dare a lousy claw be so arrogant? No one would want it even if you gave it to them for free. How dare you compare it with my big brother Tuoba Tianci's divine crystal? I'm dying of laughter. Kid, I think you're out of your mind. What's this? It's worse than trash. Tuoba Tianci also sneered. That's right. It's just a piece of trash. Do you really think it can compare with my divine crystal? However, as soon as he finished speaking, a white-haired old man in the crowd suddenly rushed over. He swayed his body and arrived in front of the rubble. He was extremely excited. He stared at the small claw on the ground. What did I just see? It's really that thing. What's going on? Everyone was dumbfounded. The old man was so old that his hair almost reached his ankles. However, the aura on his body was abnormally powerful, like a burning furnace of heaven and earth. Whoosh! Right at this moment, another old man appeared. His hair was as messy as a bird's nest, and his clothes were old and worn as if they were antiques. However, his eyes were unusually sharp, like 2 heavenly sabers that instantly cut through the void. Heavens, it's really that thing. The old man with the bird's nest hair was even more excited. He directly knelt on the ground and pressed his face against the ground to carefully examine the small green claw. What the hell? What's going on? Everyone's eyeballs fell to the ground. They really did not dare to imagine. Those were 2 old men who were living fossils. It could be said that even mighty figures had to be respectful when they saw them. However, such powerful figures had lost their composure at that moment. Moreover, they were facing a small green claw. More importantly, the small green claw was previously despised by everyone and was regarded as a piece of trash. Kid, did you cut this thing out? The 2 old men looked at Lin Xian. Their eyes flickered as if divine flames were dancing in them. Yes. Lin Xian was scared by the 2 of them, but he still nodded. Chapter 1944. Clang. Many of the disciples of the Tuoba family fell to the ground with a dazed look on their faces. Were they blind? Someone was willing to pay 2 divine gems for a piece of trash? How was that possible? Tuoba Tianci's face was pale and his lips were trembling. He could not believe what he was seeing. In his opinion, the claw was a piece of trash that was not worth a single cent. However, someone was willing to pay 2 divine gems for it. The value of the claw had exceeded the value of the item. Damn it. That's impossible. How can that item be worth 2 divine gems? Could it be that you're mistaken? Tuoba Tianci could not help but scream in agitation. Made a mistake? Could it be that you are suspecting this old man? The elder with messy hair stood up and looked at Tuoba Tianci coldly. This scene gave Tuoba Tianci a fright. That was because that gaze was too sharp. Kit, which family are you from? How dare you be so unreasonable and question me? Tuoba Tianci was sweating profusely. He was the top genius of the Tuoba family. However, he was like an ant in front of these living fossils. He could not resist at all. Senior, please stop. At that moment, the 2 elders of the Tuoba family rushed over and apologized. This is the #1 genius of the Tuoba family. He is still young and doesn't know any better. If he offended you, please forgive him. The two elders of the Tuoba family were usually people of high status. However, at this moment, they were apologizing profusely as if they were juniors. They did not dare to be arrogant. Tuoba family? Humph, the younger generation these days is getting worse and worse. They even dare to doubt this old man's words. I'll spare his life for the sake of the Tuoba family. If you doubt me again, I'll kill you. The living fossil with messy hair snorted and ignored those people. Instead, he turned around and stared at Lin Xian. Kid, why don't you sell this item to me? Everyone was dumbfounded. The powerful Tuoba family did not dare to raise their head after being reprimanded. The talented Tuoba Tianxi had shocked everyone by cutting the divine gems. But now he was defeated. The reason for that was because the item Tuoba Tianxi had taken out was even more frightening. Although they still didn't know what it was, the price of 2 divine crystals had already surpassed Tuoba Tianxi's. The 10,000 Thunder Saints' face was frighteningly dark. He didn't expect to be defeated at the last moment. It was so long that it was incomprehensible. The other saints and saintesses were also surprised. Even Ouyang Mingfei and Huangfu Qian frowned. Clearly, this situation was beyond their expectations. However, at this moment the situation in front of them changed again. The living fossil whose hair reached his heels also said, 2 divine crystals are nothing. I'll say 3. Little guy, sell it to me. To be honest, Lin Xian was stunned. This was because he didn't know what the little green claws were for. Not to mention him, even Murong Qingqing was extremely surprised. However, she soon revealed a beautiful smile. This time Lin Xian won again. The 2 old ladies of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground saw that something was wrong and hurriedly went to find the experts of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. At this moment, another voice came from afar. 3 divine crystals and a scroll of top-grade Earth-rank thunder technique. I wonder if little brother is willing? Hearing this voice, everyone was stunned and looked back. The 10,000 Thunder Saints' face turned green because the bidder was none other than the elder of the 10,000 Thunder Sacred Ground. The elder of the 10,000 Thunder Sacred Ground had offered a high price to buy the claws, but he was going against the other party. Wasn't this a slap to his face? The others were also shocked. They didn't expect that even the 10,000 Thunder Sacred Ground would participate. But soon they cried out in alarm. Because after this, the elder of the moon-worshipping sect appeared and was willing to buy it at a high price. Not only that, but the Ouyang family, Huangfu family, and 5 Elements sect also sent experts and offered sky-high prices. But a light flashed in the void, and then a woman in red descended. She was surrounded by colorful clouds, and the lotus platform under her feet flickered. She looked like a fairy who had obtained the Tao. Elder. Seeing this scene, Murong Qingqing also exclaimed softly. The beautiful woman in palace dress smiled and nodded, then said, the Jade Lake Sacred Ground is willing to buy it for 5 divine crystals. Lin Xian was stunned. Wasn't this happiness a little too sudden? Previously he was still worried about 1 divine crystal, but now someone actually offered 5 divine crystals to buy the thing he cut out. However, he was still very surprised. Senior, I really want to know what that green claw is. How can it be worth so many crystals? To be honest, he was very surprised. Wasn't that green claw the corpse of a demonic beast? How could it be so valuable? This is indeed the corpse of a demonic beast, but it's not the corpse of an ordinary demonic beast. It has existed for at least 100,000 years. Moreover, it's very likely to be even older, the beautiful woman in red said lightly. What? More than 100,000 years? Hearing this, Lin Xian was shocked. No wonder it was so valuable. It turned out that it had existed for so long. One had to know that a great emperor could only live for 10 or 20,000 years. 100,000 years was a very long time ago. Even if it was a treasure, it would have disappeared long ago. But the fact that the little green claw was able to survive was truly shocking. The others were also puzzled. How could something that was 100,000 years old be passed down? Of course, ordinary things can't be passed down, but what if it's sealed in a divine crystal? At this moment, a living fossil said, this claw is not an ordinary claw. It's a claw sealed in a divine crystal. It can be said that it's extremely lucky to have survived until now. Although you can't see the divine crystal now, it's because the divine crystal has exhausted its energy over the endless years. We're also lucky to have cut it out at this time. Otherwise, if we wait for another 2 or 3 years, I'm afraid this little claw won't be able to survive. So that's how it is. Everyone understood. They didn't expect that there would be so many mysteries in a little claw. Lin Xian was also surprised when he found out. However, this thing was useless to him. Therefore he directly sold it to the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. Firstly, the Jade Lake Sacred Ground offered the highest price. Secondly, Murong Qingqing was the saintess of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. With such a good thing, he naturally wanted to leave it to the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. Lin Xian was grinning from ear to ear now that he had obtained 5 divine crystals. What a great harvest he had today. Not only that, but the nerves of Tuoba Tianxi and the Thousand Thunder Saint also belonged to him. In total, he had a total of 9 divine crystals in his hands. It was definitely a shocking wealth. Chapter 1945. Humph. Tuoba Tianxi's complexion was terrifyingly dark. He gnashed his teeth and his body trembled. He couldn't accept this failure. However, now wasn't the time to make a move. He could only coldly snort and quickly leave. The 10,000 lightning holy sun turned into a bolt of lightning and left. He didn't want to be bullied here. However, he also decided to deal with Tuoba Tianxi after the stone gambling convention. Although the others were also envious of the divine crystals, they didn't dare to make a move on Lin Xian right now. Lin Xian was now in high demand. The 10,000 lightning holy ground, 5 elements sect, Ouyang family clan, Huangfu family clan, and other peak powers all extended an olive branch to him. However, Lin Xian tactfully rejected all of them. He still had proper business to attend to, and that was to go to the All Beginnings Holy Ground. Half a day later, Lin Xian was pleasantly surprised to see that the All Beginnings Holy Ground had also sent someone over. Just like the other sects, they had invited Lin Xian to the All Beginnings Holy Ground as a guest. Lin Xian thought about this request for a moment. Then he nodded his head and agreed. It just so happened that he wanted to go to the All Beginnings Holy Ground anyway. Now that the other party had taken the initiative to invite him, it couldn't be any better. In the following days, Lin Xian didn't continue to gamble on stones. After all, he was in too much of the limelight right now. Therefore, he decided to stay in Murong Qingqing's small house. The two of them chatted about love and Tao. They passed their days in leisure. Finally, the Grand Stone Gambling Convention came to an end. The experts of the 5 Great Sage Lands, Tuoba Family Clan, Ouyang Family Clan, and Huangfu Family Clan. The peak-seeking spirit masters of these clans had all been invited by the All Beginnings Holy Ground. Lin Xian was also among them. The All Beginnings Holy Ground was a peerless holy ground of the southern domain. After entering the All Beginnings Holy Ground, Lin Xian didn't have the leisure to admire the mountains and rivers. Instead, he was transmitting his voice to Lu Mingyue. Lu Mingyue was also very excited. Although she was inside the Black Earth, she had already spread her soul power out. She didn't expect Lin Xian to come in so quickly. It was really out of her expectations. The people of the All Beginnings Holy Land invited Lin Xian, the 5 Great Sage Clans, and the 3 Great Spirit Master Clans inside. He arranged for them to rest on the mountain peak. The purpose of this invitation was, firstly, to allow the Great Sage to interact with each other. Moreover, there were several stones in the All Beginnings Holy Land. Therefore they asked these peak experts and powerful spirit-seeking masters to examine them, speculating whether or not there was a treasure inside, and what kind of treasure was inside. Lin Xian also stayed for the time being. However, what he didn't know was that there was an enormous mountain peak in the All Beginnings Holy Land that resembled a giant sword that reached the heavens. This was the peak of the 5th bloodline. Above them were the experts of the 5th bloodline. Among them, in a few huge palaces, there were experts who opened their eyes. Stars flickered in their eyes. Ooh. These experts frowned. Why do I feel Lu Mingyue's presence? Indeed. According to the formation, that slut seems to have come to the All Beginnings Holy Land. How is that possible? We've laid down an inescapable net in the southern region. Not even a fly can fly in. How did she come in? Could it be related to the stone gambling convention? Our Holy Land has invited a lot of people in the past 2 days. Perhaps that slut is among them. Damn it. We must find her. We must not let her meet the people of the 7th bloodline. Orders were issued one after another. The people of the 5th bloodline began to move in secret. They weren't the only ones. The people of the 7th bloodline were also overjoyed. The people of the 5th bloodline had a formation that could detect Lu Mingyue's whereabouts. Moreover, they were even more attentive than the people of the 5th bloodline. After all, Lu Mingyue was their future hope. Therefore, when Lu Mingyue entered the Holy Land, they sensed her presence. Immediately, they dispatched experts to secretly meet with Lu Mingyue. At night, the starry sky flickered. On the mountain peak, a cool breeze blew. It was somewhat chilly. Lin Xian wasn't together with Murong Qingqing. After all, he was still concealing his identity. As for Murong Qingqing, she was the holy daughter of the Jade Lake Holy Land. In front of everyone, it was impossible for the two of them to be together. Therefore he chose a mountain peak for himself. How is it? Is it done? Lin Xian asked. It's done. I've already sent a sound transmission to the people of the 7th bloodline. I believe they will come to pick me up soon. Lu Mingyue's voice transmitted from the black earth. Boom. However, at that moment the space above their heads started to ripple rapidly like seawater. A mysterious power surged out in all directions. Immediately after, a black-clothed man appeared in the sky. He was like a ghost. Incomparably black holes flickered around him. Although he was incomparably powerful, he concealed his aura very well. He didn't alarm the other experts. However, Lin Xian's soul power was extremely powerful. He instantly sensed the black-clothed man. In the next instant he raised his head and his pupils shrank. He's here. Lin Xian was extremely shocked. He didn't expect the other party to find him so quickly. Judging from the killing intent, it was definitely not from Lu Mingyue's sect. It should be someone from the 5th bloodline. Lu Mingyue UB*TCH. I didn't expect you to be able to come here. It's really beyond my expectations. However, I won't let you meet the people of the 7th bloodline. A cold voice sounded, carrying a biting cold killing intent. Then, black-clothed figures appeared in all directions on the mountain peak. Those people's auras were terrifying and powerful. They formed seals with their palms and a strange energy was emitted. It formed a huge formation that enveloped the entire mountain range. Oh no! Seeing this formation, Lin Xian frowned. He could naturally sense that this was a kind of isolation formation. They were fighting here and the people outside shouldn't be able to sense it. In the next moment, he hurriedly summoned the dark red dragon and had it break the formation. At the same time, Lin Xian let out a long roar. The aura on his body suddenly erupted, and a shocking sword chi rushed upward. Boom. However, the black-clothed man above shouted coldly. He clapped his palms and a huge hand appeared out of thin air. Like a mountain, it collided with the shocking sword chi. Then the sword chi that filled the sky was shattered. Along with it came the pressure of an almighty as well as a terrifying power. It's useless. In front of me you're like ants. Today you're not going anywhere. Kill them. With that order, the black-clothed men around him moved quickly. Boom boom boom. Half of the black-clothed men formed seals with their palms to maintain the formation. The other half of the black-robed men unleashed powerful energy, transforming into bolts of black lightning that charged towards Lin Xian. Whoosh. Lin Xian waved his sleeve, and dozens of sword chi flew out. At the same time, Lu Mingyue also came out of the black earth and displayed her powerful strength. Boom boom boom. The collision between the two was earth-shattering. However, the array formation concealed everything. From the outside, the entire mountain was quiet and there was not the slightest movement. Chapter 1946. The auras of these figures were also very powerful. Their target was also the mountain where Lin Xian was. Lu Mingyue should be on that mountain. They could not sense Lu Mingyue's aura. Could something have happened? Let's speed up. The figures looked anxious. They realized that Lu Mingyue's aura had been concealed, which gave them a bad feeling. In the next moment they could not help but speed up. However, they were soon stopped by someone. Junior brothers and sisters, where are you going? An old voice sounded. Senior brother Lu. Damn it, you people from the 5th bloodline have also received the news. Hehe, I advise you not to go. Lu Mingyue is also a sinner of our sacred ground. For such a person we should capture and kill her on the spot. How dare you? One of the middle-aged men shouted angrily. Why wouldn't I dare? The void fluctuated and an old man appeared. Although he was old, his eyes were shining with a powerful aura. He was wearing a dark blue Taoist robe with mysterious Taoist patterns on it. With a light stomp of his foot, blue ripples spread out like seawater, forming a domain. It quickly enveloped the entire surroundings. Seeing this scene, the pupils of the experts from the 7th bloodline constricted. Everyone break out of the encirclement. The middle-aged man shouted coldly. Then the few of them moved and rushed in all directions. It's useless. You can't escape. The old man in the blue star robe sneered, and the center of his eyes became illusory. Then, in the void, streaks of blue ripples spun rapidly like ocean waves, completely trapping the experts of the 7 lineages. On the mountain peak below, Lin Xian held the demon sword in his hand and blocked the attacks of the 6 men in black. He quickly asked, "Why haven't the people from the 5th bloodline arrived yet?" Bang! Lu Mingyue waved her palm and sent the 3 of them flying. At the same time she said, "According to the time, they should be here soon. Could it be that an accident has happened?" After hearing this, the old man in black sneered disdainfully, "Don't count on the people from the 7th bloodline. They won't come." What? Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. It seemed that the people of the 5th bloodline had intercepted them. This was not good news at all. After all, this place was none other than the All Beginnings Holy Land. No matter how strong he was, it was impossible for him to contend with these people in the Holy Land's territory. Therefore they had to break out. As soon as the people of the 7th bloodline arrived, Lu Mingyue would meet them, and Lin Xian would leave on the Black Earth. Kill. Therefore Lin Xian did not hesitate and unleashed an ultimate strike. The terrifying sword chi whistled and let out a roar that made one's heart tremble. Then, like a long dragon, it swept across the sky. Ping ping ping. The 6 black-clothed men beside him were sent flying by the sword. Damn it, how can this kid be so powerful? The 6 black-clothed men's faces were incomparably solemn. In the sky, the black-robed mighty figure snorted coldly. He had also discovered that Lin Xian's strength was beyond his expectations. Therefore, the mighty figure in black decided to do it himself. He stretched out his palm, and the black palm rapidly enlarged. It was incomparably black, resembling a primordial devil mountain. Its aura was terrifying as it rapidly pressed downwards. Whoosh! Lin Xian used the heavenly dragon's 8 steps and turned into a stream of light. He quickly dodged and stabbed out with his sword. The black-robed mighty figure sneered disdainfully. He was powerful and his opponent was merely a little king. How dare he attack him? He was truly courting death. In the next moment he pressed down with his palm. Instantly, the incomparably black devil palm turned into black flames and rushed toward the sword chi. Boom! The collision between the two was earth-shattering. One after another, pitch-black cracks appeared in the sky. In the end, the sword chi was shattered. As for the pitch-black devil palm, it also flew for a while before disappearing into the void. He was actually able to block it? The black-robed mighty figure furrowed his brows. A little king was able to block his attack. It was simply too inconceivable. No wonder you could come to the Holy Land. As expected, you have some skills. However, do you think you can defeat me with just this? The black-robed mighty figure sneered. Then his body shone with light. Strands of primal chaos energy appeared and formed 8 primal chaos heads. They were incomparably malevolent, just like demonic beasts. A terrifying primal chaos energy filled the sky. Then the wonton head spat out 8 primal chaos demonic figures. Each of them wielded a sword and saber. They were incomparably powerful and charged toward Lin Xian. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian sucked in a deep breath. He also had a wonton clone standing in front of him. Suddenly, 3 clones rapidly appeared. Boom! An intense collision occurred. Countless rays of light flashed in the sky, and a terrifying aura suppressed the surroundings. Damn it! You actually know how to use the Primal Chaos secret technique. The black-robed mighty figure's expression changed. He was too shocked. Meat stew was a secret technique of the All Beginnings Holy Land. How could his opponent know how to use it? Could it be that slut Lu Mingyue gave it to him? The black-robed mighty figure's expression turned cold. He had decided that he had to kill his opponent. He could not allow this secret technique to be spread. On the other side, the dark red divine dragon was rapidly breaking through the array formation. Although the array formation formed by the black-robed men was profound, it still had flaws in front of the dark red divine dragon. Crack. Not long after, a small crack appeared on the entire formation due to the dark red Shinnon. Although it was only a small crack, it was more than enough. The dark red dragon roared, and a terrifying dragon roar transmitted through the crack. A single roar caused the earth to tremble. In an instant, the roar rushed out of the array formation and spread throughout the All Beginnings Holy Land. At this moment, countless powerful auras surged. One figure after another flew into the sky. They were all extremely shocked. What's going on with this roar? Could it be that a demonic beast has entered? Damn it! Who is it that dares to cause trouble in the All Beginnings Holy Land? Furious roars resounded one after another. Everyone became even more puzzled. Damn it! Inside the array formation, the black-robed mighty figure's expression was incomparably unsightly. He had not expected that the other party would be able to break through their array formation so quickly. Moreover, his voice was transmitted outside. This was something that he had not expected. Kill. At this moment he could no longer care about anything else. He had to kill Lu Mingyue as soon as possible. Otherwise, things would become troublesome once the people from the 7th bloodline arrived. Therefore, the black-robed mighty figure turned into a streak of light. With a pitch-black death scythe in his hand, he rapidly slashed toward Lu Mingyue. Buzz. As for Lin Xian, he used Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps and arrived beside Lu Mingyue in advance. Then he used the black earth to store Lu Mingyue. Shua. In the next instant he disappeared into the void. Just as he disappeared, a black death scythe appeared and cut through the void. Ah, damn brat. Get out here. The black-robed mighty figure roared crazily. He was about to go crazy from anger. The surrounding black-robed mighty figures also joined forces to kill Lin Xian. Chapter 1947. Shock. None of them were a match for Lin Xian. At this time, the Crimson Divine Dragon roared twice more. Its voice was vast and mighty, spreading for thousands of miles. It was like thunder, causing one's soul to tremble. What a terrifying roar. What kind of monster beast is this? Isn't it too terrifying? Everyone was shocked. As for the All Beginnings Holy Land's martial artists, they were finally unable to sit still. They followed the sound and quickly flew towards the mountain peak. Not far away, the expressions of the experts from the 7th bloodline also changed. Could it be Mingyue? The star-robed old man's expression was ice-cold. He had naturally discovered that the direction the roar was coming from was where Lu Mingyue was. However, wasn't that place already surrounded by almighty experts? How could there still be a change? He truly couldn't understand. But before long, 2 streaks of light appeared in the distance. An enormous aura rapidly burst forth and flew over. It's someone from the 7th bloodline. Seeing this scene, the star-robed old man's expression became even more gloomy. He knew that it would be difficult for him to succeed today. Thus, he sighed and disappeared into the void. As he disappeared, the star-like vortexes in the sky also rapidly disappeared. We're saved. The experts from the 7th bloodline breathed a sigh of relief. There was nothing they could do about it. Their senior brother was simply too terrifying. Fortunately, their senior brother still had misgivings about the rules of the Holy Land and didn't openly attack them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to escape. In the next instant, they turned into streaks of light and flew forward. Boom, boom, boom. Powerful auras descended one after another. Moreover, the array formation formed by the black-robed men shattered. When the black-robed almighty expert saw this scene, he gnashed his teeth and revealed an unwilling expression. But in the end, he still turned into countless strands of demonic energy that wrapped around the black-robed men and disappeared into the void. Who are you? Who allowed you to fight here? Sensing the remnant energy fluctuations in the air, the All Beginnings Holy Land's martial artists that had rushed over had gloomy expressions. But at this time Lin Xian controlled the black earth and a beautiful figure appeared. It was Lu Mingyue. As soon as she appeared, she flew into the sky and shouted, "Master!" Disciple. A middle-aged woman wearing a red dress appeared. Her body emitted a monstrous aura. She looked at Lu Mingyue and said excitedly, "Good, good. It's good that you're back." Whoosh. Following the appearance of the woman in red, more than 10 mighty figures appeared in the surroundings. They descended and protected Lu Mingyue firmly. At this time, the cultivators from the other factions also arrived, as well as guests from the other holy lands. When they saw this scene, they were extremely shocked. That woman is... How? B. The martial artists of the other factions gnashed their teeth, their expressions abnormally cold. The people of the 5th bloodline had also arrived. When they saw this scene, they were so angry that they were about to vomit blood. Soon, an expert from the 5th bloodline snorted coldly, "Humph, what's the use of coming back? She's a sinner of the Holy Land. You'll still be punished if you come back. That's right. She has committed a capital offense. You've already become someone else's maid. You don't deserve to be the new saintess." Cold shouts came one after another. However, the woman in red snorted and said, "If any of you have a problem with that, I'll fight with him." At this point, she grasped the red hidden sword at her waist. Suddenly, her aura erupted like a volcano and swept across the sky. The area was dyed red in an instant. Bang, bang, bang. Many people turned pale and almost knelt on the ground. They couldn't bear this terrifying aura. Peerless Almighty, this red-robed woman was actually a peerless Almighty. Her terrifying aura suppressed the void like a divine monument. Du Hongling, although you're a peerless Almighty, don't bully others. We're not afraid of you. That's right. You're no match for us in terms of strength. Besides, we won't bully others. We'll speak with facts. Lu Mingyue is indeed not suitable to be the new saintess. Besides, I think it's a mistake for her to stay in the Holy Land. You should expel her. Do you think you can expel her just because you want to? The woman in red, Du Hongling, snorted coldly. News about my disciple has spread throughout the eastern wilderness. What happened before was all because of Zheng Xiu from the 5th tribe. My disciple wasn't captured at all, and she's not a traitor of the Holy Land. So if you're not convinced, fight me. I, Du Hongling, am not afraid of you. At this point, the aura on her body became sharp again. The clouds in the sky churned, and the red light turned into 3 huge long swords. Each of them was tens of thousands of miles long, and they circled in the void like giant dragons. The surrounding kings turned pale when they saw this scene. If they fought, the entire mountain range would be destroyed and they wouldn't be spared. Lin Xian stood at the side. Looking at this scene, he was extremely shocked. Is this Lu Mingyue's master? What a domineering woman. However, he was relieved. With such a powerful master, it wouldn't be too difficult for Lu Mingyue to become the saintess. Du Hongling, you're too presumptuous. At this moment, the void rippled again, and the star-robed elder from before appeared again. With his appearance, a middle-aged man with a yellow face appeared beside him. He was wearing a yellow robe and his face was sallow. He looked very ordinary. However, the moment he appeared, the faces of the people from the Holy Land changed. Ma Yuanshan, you actually came out of seclusion. Du Hongling's expression was also very serious. Ma Yuanshan was the middle-aged man with a sallow face. He was also a peerless Almighty. Thus, his appearance caused the entire scene to change once again. The 2 peerless Almighties confronted each other, and their terrifying auras kept rising. They collided in the void and each blow tore the void. Everyone quickly retreated, afraid that they would be affected by the energy. However, at this tense moment, the stars in the sky flickered, and then emitted light, condensing into a human face. Both of you stop. Come with me. There was a vast pressure in this voice, like a god looking down on the mortals. Seeing the starry face, the 2 peerless Almighties looked serious. They quickly restrained their auras. As for the surrounding Holy Land's cultivators, they respectfully bowed. We pay our respects to the Holy Master. This starry face was actually condensed by the All Beginnings Holy Land's Holy Master. Lin Xian was also very nervous. The strength of a Holy Land's Holy Master was incomparably terrifying and unfathomable. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.